Honor to everyone that's watching. Honor to everyone that's joining the chat. Honor to you all. Give me a sec. Still setting up one or two things. I'm not. Can't find that I'm live on my phone. Trying to pull up the chat. All right, here we go. Okay. So honor to you all, brother Ralph Worley. Honor to you, Vincent Theory. Honor to you, Chuck Jackson, Young Cherokee Peasy, Macadon One, Selena Morel. Honor to you. Honor. I was supposed to have went live yesterday and um over the weekend, but we have our ups and we have our downs, and there's some things that I'm going through, so I wasn't able to go live. But I was looking at the Leticia Judge Leticia and Judge Vonda's cases that they have that they have going on. And I notice a pattern. Like there's a pattern in a lot of these things that's happening today. But before we start, right, let me state my disclaimer. Um, if you guys see any form of interruptions going on with the live, again, I still have the person that still continues to try to hack my StreamYard. So they've invited themselves in again. So StreamYard, the folks of StreamYard, what they do is they force log them out. But StreamYard has a specific type of key code. Um, they got like a number pattern, and if you write down each different number pattern, I know what the person is doing. Let's just leave it at that. But yeah, so if anyone is being blocked or kicked out or the screen starts going blurred, that's the person doing it. You know, that person's pretty much he or she's into all my stuff until I could get a new system up and going. So yeah. But anyway, before we start, let me state my disclaimer. I am full colon Dartman X hyphen TV. I am an Ahuak American, which you call an Arawak American, from the American island of Zamaka, which you call in corporate paper Jamaica. With that being said, this platform does not advocate for any form of terroristic activities. This platform does not advocate for any form of hate speech towards anyone. This platform is for the means of educational purposes for original Americans, whether they are scattered all over the world or not. This platform is also for the critique of public information as it is put out there in the public. With that being said, we're going to get into it. Let me change my let me go to give me 1 second, y'all. I had to go into my watch list. History. We'll go touch on her case first. To be a story anymore. All right. Pause that right there. Put it back to the beginning. So this is going to be from News 10 NBC. Fair use, fair use. Uh, let me hit back the screen share. I don't know if I should even screen share, because nowadays when I try to screen share these things, they try to hit me with a copyright for the imagery. Uh, Screen share. Okay. So what I've noticed is a there's a targeting of a specific type of judges. And what they're targeting these judges for is pretty much not trying to bend to the will of the corporation, or these judges are trying to be as fair as possible um in what they call the judicial system, right? Give me a second here, y'all. Yeah. So these judges are trying to be fair. If you really listen to the story and what these judges are former judges are saying, right? And to show you that it's not just you that is targeted. It is people that look like you that also works within the system, that when they don't conform to certain things that they want them to conform to, that there's folks behind the scenes that conspire at by any means to destroy these people's lives and get them up out of the positions that they are in, because they're not given a high percentage of the human trafficking through the system. Okay. um we're going to start off with uh um Judge Leticia Stasios, right? And then we're gonna go touch on the Vonda Judge Vonda Evans case also, right? Just with their interviews. But the Leticia Stasios Estasio case bothered me because they sent her to prison, to jail, multiple times for one DUI charge, a DUI that they didn't even prove that she was drunk. They couldn't prove it. They couldn't prove it because the test didn't come up saying that she was drunk, and they still sent her to prison, put her on probation, um, stalked her for 3 years, and now just a couple of days ago they sentenced her to 6 months for violating her probation. 6 months for a DUI. And in this interview here, before the sentencing of the 6 months, because they're trying to break her. And then when you really listen to the interviews of these sisters, when they're breaking down what's going on. So this is also to show to some of y'all that runs and go join their societies, that the minute you don't want to play ball, or the minute you do something outside of what they telling you not to do, no matter how small it is, and you don't kiss that ring, and you went from kissing the ring to biting the hand, they're going to F you over no matter what it takes to destroy you. Even if you took yourself away from that world, they're going to use, because they themselves can't send people to watch you, they use the news outlet to spy on you every single day so that you can't say, well, your employer is harassing you. Your employer is doing so and so. Now you're dealing with the news outlets, where the news outlets, so we have the right, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and they stalk you everywhere you go. Put your business out there everywhere you go. And with Leticia Estasio's case, the courts was making their cases off of what the news media was reporting about her, which is sad. They give weekend jail for DUI. Yeah, but she did more than she did. I think about she's getting 6 months, and I think she also did 4 months before the 6 months. So that, call that a year, right? And this happened in 2017. This is now going on 2020. And this case is still going on for a DUI that they never proved. They never proved that she was drunk. right? Because she enforced her constitutional rights on them, and they didn't like that shit. When you are stopped, you don't have to do a look. When when hold on, because I see my screen went blank here. Hold on, y'all. Okay. When she was not letting the police build a case against her. You see, when policy officers are doing their supposed investigations, right? Um, they need you to give them information to build a case against you. So if they say, "Hey, you have to do this breathalyzer," no, you don't. It is by law your constitutional right that you don't have to partake in nothing to incriminate yourself that they're doing. So she didn't partake in the breathalyzer. So they couldn't prove that she was drunk. They couldn't prove that she was drunk. And mind you, a breathalyzer will only say that you were drinking. A breathalyzer don't say that you're drunk. Just know that. A breathalyzer does not say that you are drunk. So you could go and take one shot of Ray and Nephew or a cork of Hennessy, and go out there and a cop stop you and say, "Hey, we want to give you a breathalyzer." It's going to show that you consume some alcohol, but a breathalyzer don't say that you're drunk. It is the officer's opinion that says that you're drunk. His opinion. Okay? So she did not give a breathalyzer. No one knows if she was drinking or not. Right? No one knows if she was drinking or not. So, and this is show you that they've been targeting her. They've been wanting to get her because when she's in this interview that she was forced to do, she was forced to do this interview, and you're gonna see how they were stalking her. 3 years after the fact, and they still was posted up outside of her house, harassing her neighbors, harassing her family. 3 years after for a DUI, and in the 3 years for her DUI case, you had a judge that pissed on a police car that still kept his position. You had a judge that was caught drunk driving and reached for the police officer's gun and still kept his position. You had a judge that was arrested multiple times for DUI and still kept his position. And she was arrested one time for something that they never proved and lost her position as being a judge and was harassed for 3 years, arrested multiple times over the 3-year course because the news media kept reporting this and reporting that. And they said, "Oh, she violated her probation. Go lock her up." They put her on probation, took away her spot. Then come to find out, it's the fact that she's from the hood. She's from the hood, and she didn't change. She still viewed people from neighborhoods like ours, that where we come from, as still being human beings and believed in being fair to them in how the system is. And they didn't like that. So judges like her that can relate with our brothers and sisters from our communities, there's a target on their backs to get them up out of here, out of these out of their seats, right? And then you got to keep in mind that the United States Incorporated is now owned by the Middle East. If you people can say what they want to say, if U.S. Incorporated is a corporation. When corporations go bankrupt, another corporation comes in and takes over that corporation. The Middle East took over the United States corporation. That's it. When you see these boxing fights, Anthony Joshua boxing fight took place in the Middle East. The dude named Miller that was supposed to fight Anthony Joshua, that faked like he was on drugs and got hit with some doping thing so that he couldn't fight Joshua, to set up the Andy Ruiz to fight Joshua because they were avoiding the whole Miller and Deontay. It was anyway. That whole thing is just a setup. He got offered over $70 million to contract with the Saudis. Okay, the quarter the quarter that I showed you with the Moroccan with the Moorish with the Muslim man waving the Muslim flag on the United States quarter, the 2016 edition of the United States quarter, right? You go look up in the mint, in the U.S. Mint, you'll see it. That's to show you that the U.S. corporation has been sold. Okay, that's the whole forced progenitor thing that you've been getting warned about. That the Middle East took over the U.S. Right, so they are preparing you for an Islamic controlled society for this hemisphere. That's why when you watch the cartoons, they're pushing the whole polygamous thing in all of these cartoons now. One male, like one hero, got like six females lusting over him in these children cartoons. They're preparing your children mind. They're pushing the homosexual agenda more so because a lot of the folks in the dudes in the Middle East is homos. They're gay. That's not my opinion. That's just that's a fact. That's when I showed y'all when I broke down the thing about the Muslim dancing boys. If you don't know what a Muslim dancing boy is, you go research it. It's when a harem, entire group of men dress little boys up as girls, put on makeup and lipsticks on them. These are dudes from the mosque, and you already know what they're doing with those little boys. Okay, that's all rampant throughout the Middle East. All right, but anyway, let's stick to the script. A lot of our sisters hold positions as judges, right? A lot of people that looks like us has coming into positions as being high class lawyers and judges. All right. And because of this power change that's also happening, because remember, and for those who have traveled to the Middle East, or for those who are familiar, had family members that's been in the Middle East, they still call our people of our complexion slaves over there. Openly. They still call them slaves over there. All right. So for you to have even some form of judicial power on a bench here, it's you're going to have to get up off of it. Now, anyway, let's get into the sister's case. Right? We're going to play this one video here, and then there's another one on the day of her sentencing for the 6 months that I want to show you guys right here. But this one explained it. This one right here just explained a lot. Fair use, fair use. News 10 NBC. Turn it up. And you see them show her house address just now, right? You see them, and the reason why I pointed that out, that how they showed her home address, they showed the number of her home, they showed her home address. Mind you, she's no longer a judge. She's no longer a public official, so they're not supposed to show her home address. When you are a public official, right? When you are a county clerk, a governor, a mayor, or a councilman, when you're in those positions, everything about you is supposed to be open to the public. Where you live, because you're always working. You're always on call, like a doctor's always on call. Even when a doctor be like, "Oh, it's my day off," and there's an emergency with a patient, that doctor has to go in. That doctor's you're always on call, okay? You're a public servant, but she's no longer that. At this point right here, during this interview, which she's going to address, and they're going to say, "Oh, we never showed your home address." But you see here, when you see here, they literally showed it in the beginning. They flashed it in the beginning, and even this here is just enough right here. So this is her here, right now. Mind you, she don't look like this now. She lost some weight. She still look good right here. She lost some weight. Sister's fine, but she always been pretty. But anyway. Look, they trying to flash her home address. See that? They flashed it. Boom, right there.
But there's a decision. My neighbors are trying to live and function, and they're not part of this. And this is rude and disrespectful and invasive. And I know it's your job, and I'm not upset with you. But I mean, enough. It's been 3 years. Can you guys?
Here she's saying it's been 3 years and they still fuck with her. But let me point out something else. Both these judges that I'm showing, they were always well mannered, well spoken, never raised their voice at these people, well respectful, and these people still continue to violate them. Now, if you people talk about devils and demons, when you see someone harass you like this nonstop, and you point out multiple major things that's happening that they bypass just to come and harass you, and you know why they're doing it, basically because of the complexion of your skin and because you had this high position, so they want to demonize you for having this high position. So they send their minions. So now these minions, when people talk about hell, angels and demons, you'll see a demon when a demon comes in front of you. When you see an officer literally lie on you and say, "Oh, he reached for my gun," and your hands was on top of your head, and your hands is on top of your head, crazy glue to your head. You can't move it without ripping out your hair. And the officer says you still reach for his gun. The the officer said you reach for his gun, even when your hands is handcuffed behind your back, and you're sitting in the police car, and the police car doors is locked with child safety lock and all that. You can't get out. The officer will still see you reach for his gun, even though he's standing outside of the locked door. You see what I'm saying? These are demons. These are demons. You understand? So we live now. This is Generation Z. Generation Z is where you're seeing I say it's the demonic world that is running society full force right now. That is pushing all their pedophilic, all their psycho agenda out there in the public on the people, and is reprogramming you to look at this woman as being the bad guy because she stood up for herself and she knew her rights because she was a judge, right? She refused to do the breathalyzer because she has all right to do that. She don't have to do a breathalyzer. That's her right. Okay? It's like someone says, "Yo, the corner store down the street was just broken into, and it was the John Anthony. John Anthony broke into that corner store, and a cop comes and see you walking, going about your business. You didn't do it, but a cop wants you to give him your ID to show that you're not John Anthony. But you're like, no, I'm not giving you my ID. So even if you was John Anthony, he wants you to give you the ID to say, oh yeah, I got you. So they wanted her to do the breathalyzer, and she said no. The reason why also she said no is because one, she didn't break no laws. So you stopping someone for a traffic infraction is not a criminal offense. So you had no right to pull her over anyway. She's a judge. Okay. So she knows this. So now they're trying to make you look, well, this poor black girl, she's so crazy. She's so delusional. But Pete, and this is why I be trying to break down the Constitution to you guys. If she really wanted to get out of the whole 6 months that she was sentenced to, because she's fighting her case from a corporate standpoint. I don't know if she knows, but she's fighting it from a corporate standpoint. If she takes it to the common law, to the living, breathing man standpoint, I'm telling you, everyone there would be so screwed that had any form of involvement in her case, and they'd have to back off her immediately. If she fought it from an executor standpoint, she's no longer a public official, so now she can take over back ownership of her estate as being the executor of her stuff and go back at her colleagues. Even from behind bars, she could do this, right? But again, to each their own. But all I know is that, and what I feel is that after she do her 6 months and she do her time, she is going to get a lot of justice given back to her in droves because they violated her in every single angle of her cases. Every single angle of her cases violated her. But anyway, let's go. So I'm back up to the beginning. Remember there's a part in this interview that was forcibly done, right? Where they say that they never showed her home address, her home location. Let's not use the word address. Her location, right? But as you can see here in the beginning, they definitely showed it. So to show you that these are demons and they lie. Yeah, they're gonna try to interfere with it now.
You're upsetting my kid. You're upsetting my dog. I'm not going to talk to you. Obviously, there was a decision. It's not the decision that I wanted. It's not the decision that I think my demographic wants. But there's a decision. My neighbors are trying to live and function, and they're not part of this. And this is rude and disrespectful and invasive. And I know it's your job, and I'm not upset with you. But I mean, enough. It's been 3 years. Can you guys please go away and leave me alone? You're literally posted in front of my neighbors' houses. You're literally like filming my kid. My dog's been freaking out. I've ignored you for several hours. We're in the middle of traffic. Like, this is insane. Didn't
Yeah, they literally set up in the middle of the street.
This is like borderline stalking. I don't want to talk to you guys.
You know, we haven't shot your son.
I really appreciate that.
See, cars got to drive around them.
I don't want an opportunity.
Information in the news today about you, and it's our
There's-
job to be here to see if
And
there's
that's-
anything you want.
That's why I'm not angry with you, because I know you're doing your job. But I don't want to respond. There's nothing that I can say or do that changes anyone's impression about me. People think what they think and they feel what they feel, and it is what it is.
There are people that are also in favor.
There are tons of people that are in favor.
Support you.
And
Now let me point out this. When she was elected to be a judge, she was elected by the people. The people of that neighborhood voted her in her position. She didn't have the backing of no major politician. She didn't have the backing of no councilman. She didn't have the backing of none of these folks whom are in these elitist societies backed her. It was literally 100%, like she says, her neighbors, the people within the community told her to go run for being a judge. They were encouraging her, right? So someone that she knew told her, like, yo, you should go run. You should take one of these seats. And the people backed her because they wanted her in that position. So if the people voted for someone to be in that position like that, someone that had no major backing, no nothing, it must be something fair about them that the people trust. And she must have been holding up to that standard. And these folks who didn't like that was looking for her to slip up some way, somehow. And her turning down a breathalyzer to them, that was her slip up. And for 3 years, they went after her. 3 years till she even lost her judgeship. Right? So let's go.
of course, thank you. Thank you, a billion thank yous. I appreciate your support. I appreciate the love and an outpouring of support that I've received. It's very interesting. There's a tale of two Rochesters, and I have a demographic, and only people that live in the city of Rochester can vote for me. So I would love for you guys to go talk to some of them. But I don't want you guys to disturb my neighbors, and I don't want you to.
Oh, if y'all don't know Rochester, New York is racist as hell. Okay, so like when she's talking about the tales of two Rochesters, there's the what they call the upper class with the rich folks, the rich Caucasian elitist society folks, and then you have the hood, like where she's at. That's for them. It's like the hood. So she has not changed. She didn't leave from where she was because she became a judge. She stayed in the neighborhood because if you're representing a demographic of people in a specific area, you're supposed to live in that area. You know that. So a lot of these politicians don't even live in the area of where they're represented because they don't know the people of that area. Okay, she knows the people of the area. She lives in the area. That's her house. Well, her house is next door. That y'all saw her coming off the steps from, which is her home. She's lived there. She's always lived there. She never moved. When she got the promotion of being a judge, she stayed there. So she knows the community, and she has to stay in the community in order to serve as a judge in the community. Mayors have to live in the community or the city in which they're being mayors of, or governors have to stay in the state in which they're being a governor of, right? When you check some of these mayors and governors, they don't even live in that state or the city. You know what I mean? They'll have a dummy address and never stay there. Okay, and the reason why they also do that, again, because they're always on call. Like you as the citizen, you as even a sovereign, if you have an issue, you could go and literally certified mail a document to their house, and once they accept it, it's deemed filed by law. They have once that reaches their hand and they file and they sign for it, no matter who signs for it in their home, it's deemed filed by law. So these are the things that they avoid by saying, well, yeah, the mayor lives in City Hall. No, the mayor don't live in City Hall. Or the mayor lives in so and so mansion. Mayor ain't even there neither. You see what I'm saying? But she's in her community. She's never left. She's never left. So she knows the ins and outs of what's going on there. Like, I know someone that whose tire flew off their car after they went to a mechanic, and it flew when they were driving. It's not their fault, right? It's the mechanic's fault. But because the tire hit a Caucasian person, which was a rich person in Rochester, right? And that person ended up dying, they still sentenced that man to about a year or 2 years in prison for murder, okay? For an accident that he wasn't responsible for. Now, close to Rochester, a similar incident happened, but this was a Caucasian. He got no jail time. It was deemed as an accident, and he left him alone. Okay? And the reason I'm pointing this out is because to show you that there's a target also on decent judges, okay, of our complexion. All right?
Oh, my slowly decaying house, and I don't want you to record my son. Oh, and I want my dog to shut up because he has the most annoying gift. Like, you don't even know. Well, you probably do know because you probably have heard him. And so I tried to just ignore you, but you're not going away. So
I understand. You're not a normal citizen. You're an elected leader in our community, and that's why we feel like we have an obligation to reach you. Oh, multiple times. I lived in East Rochester.
How many times have you been to talk to the judge there at his home?
My colleagues have been there a couple times. Couple times.
And did you have a conversation with him?
I personally did not, but
because $400,000 is $500,000 almost. And I don't think I've seen remotely the kind of coverage on that I have on this. And there were no criminal charges, and you guys are silent. So that's fine. Like, do your job the way you want to do it.
We're not silent. I mean, he took his punishment, and he kind of went away, and that was that.
2015 to 2018, he took his punishment not being legally charged with a crime and deciding to give up his law license that he would have lost as a result of a felony anyway when he decided to. I'm sorry. I don't know what kind of punishment you're talking about. I did 3 months in jail on a miss.
See why they effing with her? Her mouth has no filter. So she's calling out this reporter right here, right? Because this reporter, she asked this reporter how many times that she's been to the other judge's house that was caught. I think he was caught scamming, right? And around the time when her case was still going on. And she said, well, she hasn't personally been there, but her colleagues have. Now, mind you, this guy was making over, I think, $500,000 a year. That's what he was making. And I believe either he got caught with a DWI or whatever. But anyway, they never gave him no punishment. No one punished him. He decided when he wanted to retire, when he wanted to leave, how he wanted to leave, and that's what he did. And she's saying that he got his punishment, the Caucasian reporter. So she's saying, really? When did he get his punishment? When did anyone cast out any form of discipline on him? He decided everything that he wanted to do, and he did it. He decided to do another 3 more years as a judge, and he did his other 3 more years, and then he stepped down. Now, because he was going to be found guilty anyway of what it is that he did, he was automatically going to lose that position as being a judge. So he didn't get any punishment because they left it up to him to resign when he was ready to resign. And that's what he did. And the $400,000 that he was making a year, or he stole $400,000, he never even paid back a dime of it back. And all these reporters, they left him alone. Mind you, she is being hit for a DUI that they can't prove that she did. Period. And they're at her house for 3 years now. 3 years. Still harassing her.
Misdemeanor. He took his punishment.
He took the punishment handed down from the commission.
No, he decided what his punishment was. 3 years after the fact, when he wasn't charged with a crime, he decided he was done being a judge, and he decided he was done being a lawyer, and he paid no one dime of money back. And you guys let it roll off your back. No worries. Like, it's fine. You report what you want to. But I'm done. Like, what else is there to say?
Do you want to continue to be a judge? Will you fight this?
I don't know. We'll see. I haven't stopped being a judge. That hasn't changed. Whether or not I'm able to go into the courthouse, depending on what somebody thinks today or tomorrow, that hasn't changed. I've always wanted to do my job. That's why I ran for it. The citizens of the city of Rochester voted me in. It is a very odd thing to see when the voters' will is subverted by a group of individuals who decide they know what the voters want better than they do. Do you? You're a black woman. I'm asking you, baby girl, do you? Because there's not one judge that's ever been removed from the bench for DWI, including judges that pissed on cop cars, including judges that tried to take police officers' guns, including judges that have been arrested repeatedly while in their cars drunk and asleep, including judges. The last judge we had in Monroe County got a DWAI and got a DWI while his case was pending and continued to stay on the bench and hear cases. Do you?
But the commission said that those judges.
She's the only one that they removed for a DUI that they couldn't prove. And still to this very day, they still can't prove that she was driving under the influence. They cannot prove it. Not one bit. Let's keep going. So she called out all those other judges, and none of them were removed from their positions as being a judge. You heard the stuff that she said these judges did? And they didn't say, no, that's not true. Those reporters didn't say that's not true because all those reporters reported on it, but they never spent years harassing them like they're doing with her, harassing her because they wanted her to say, yes, she was drunk and she won't say it. So they're going to harass her to coax her into an answer that they want to hear. It's not good enough that she says, no, I wasn't drunk. It's not good enough that they have no proof that she was drunk. Now, to show you that they were targeting her, her DUI stop happened while she was on her way to work at 8 a.m. in the beginning of the day. Okay? So these officers was already put on alert to F with her, to mess with her. Let's keep going though.
Is either admitted that they had a problem and sought help, or that they voluntarily gave up their judgeships. It wasn't for them. They were pretty clear that it wasn't just the DWI. Had it been just that DUI, you would probably still be on the bench. It was everything that followed.
I went to Thailand.
Yes, at death to self in their policy. For certain things they have absolute immunity for. That immunity goes a long way. It goes a long way. But remember now, she's in Rochester, New York. Those folks, her higher ups, they don't like people of our complexion or people darker than her or people a little lighter. They don't like them. Okay, so anything that they could do or any excuse they could have to get one of us up from out of our seat, especially one that is not an ass kisser and that's not conforming to their corrupt ways, to how they want her to be, they're going to get rid of her. So that immunity, they're not going to give her that immunity. She's supposed to have it, but mind you, she still didn't commit a crime. All 3 years and she has not committed a crime. Mind you, what they stopped her for was a policy. That's not a crime. She's not a criminal. She didn't injure anyone. She didn't cause any. There's no injured party there. Who's the injured party? Where's the natural living, breathing man and woman that says this woman hurt me on the way to work driving under the influence? They have none of that. This woman swerved her car and caused me to swerve mine to cause an accident. They have none of that. They have an officer asked her for a DUI. And you know what? They don't even show the dash cam footage. They don't even show the dash cam footage of her arrest. And I remember now I'm remembering her case from a couple years back. I don't ever remember seeing the dash cam footage. I think they showed the footage of her going to the jail, but I don't remember them showing the dash cam footage or the body cam footage of her arrest. The officer should have at least a body cam footage. I don't remember seeing any of those. But anyway, they're not able to prove that she was drunk. They weren't able to prove it. and they're not giving her immunity. That's why she's calling them out. That's why she's calling out. She's calling out. She says there's a judge that pissed on a cop car. There's a judge that was drunk twice and fell asleep in his car twice while being under the influence, and they didn't get their own seats positions taken away from them. There was a judge that reached for an officer's gun and didn't get their position taken away from them, but she got hit with a DUI that they can't prove still to this very day. They can't prove it, and they took away her seat, and still harassing her.
And after the media attacked me and I got charged for holding a cup, that cup was ultimately dismissed, and then I left the country to try to get away from the constant pressure, and it was totally legal for me to leave the country. I had absolutely nothing pending in court. I was not allowed to go to work. It was completely legal for me to leave the country when I did. And somehow that resulted in this continuing. Do you think that I legit had 2-3 months left before this conditional discharge was up? Do you think that I would have thought, geez, if I leave the country, which I'm legally allowed to do, this will continue on for the next 2 years of my life? I would have left? No, I would have sat here and ignored you guys like I've been doing for the last 2 years. So, I mean, read whatever you want to in the decision. Come to whatever conclusions you want to. I really just came out because I want you guys to go away. I don't want to talk.
All right, so they had put her on the first go around or whatever. They took her off the bench, right? That's what they did. So she went away to Thailand for a little break. And when she was in Thailand, they speed up her court date on her when she went away. So these are dirty things. So say she went to Thailand Friday. She went to Thailand Friday, and her court date is supposed to be 3 weeks from that Friday that she went to Thailand, and she was supposed to spend a week in Thailand. As soon as they found out that she was in Thailand, boom! Next minute, her court date is within 2 days. So I remember this. She had to fly back immediately from Thailand to go to her court. This is what they were doing to her, because she won't admit to being under the influence while operating her motor vehicle, her automobile, right? And because she's standing her ground and she won't let them break her. So they're like, we're going to break you. We're going to prove that we're going to break you. So we're going to harass you. And so then after that, they put her on probation, right? They slapped probation on her. And the news filmed her holding a cup. No one to this very day knows what was in that cup. No one to this very day. And they hit her with violating her probation. They hit her because of these same people. These same people that's here right there. Stalked her, harassed her. Was sending in footages to the courts. Right? Saying, look at your public official. Look what she's doing. But no one knows what was in her cup. And they hit her with violating her probation. Right? This is what they was doing to her.
To you, but you're a black woman. You asked me a question that I think you can figure out the answer to on your own.
Assessio, people want to know, why do you keep doing these things to get yourself in trouble?
Here's the coon.
Last time I was in the news, I don't know what channel you're with, but I was literally a headline because all the judges in New York State got a raise. What did I do to inspire that? What did I do for Spectrum to post a photo of me and to have one of their viewers post my address online after you guys have repeatedly filmed my house and my street and encourage people to come to my house and get their $190,000 worth out of me? What did I do to prompt that?
We didn't do that. We didn't post your address.
Spectrum.
You heard them? They said, we didn't do that. We didn't post your address, but I showed you in the beginning that they showed her house number. So they posted it. They showed her house number. Now, this is News 10 NBC that I'm on, right? So this is NBC News. And they're saying, no, we didn't do that. We didn't. So you caught them lying, and you see in the very beginning that the cameraman act like he was fixing his camera, but he was already set up. He purposely moved the camera so that they could flash her house address to show you the dirty. And a lot of people miss these little dirty shit that they were doing, right? All because she won't say, I was driving under the influence, and they have all right to be doing to me what they're doing. She won't say that, and she will never say that. She'd rather go to fucking prison to jail than admit any of that dumb shit. And I respect her for that.
From Spectrum, you guys all posted my address. Actually, you
guarantee you that we have never
baby
posted
girl,
your address.
you're lying,
I
and you're not doing it on purpose, but you're lying.
She's doing
When
it on
this
purpose.
happened, you all posted my address. It was part of the original complaint. You posted my address, my home phone number, and my driver's license number. Once my attorney sent a cease and desist, you took it down and redacted it. But every one of your channels posted my home address. I still get letters.
Shut her up.
I still get letters from prison because you all posted my address. Every single one of you posted my home address. So
she had folks from prison also writing her that, I know where you live. Right? That I know where you live. So this is crazy. Honor to everyone that's joining in the chat. Tim Buck, son of Papoose, Chase Truth, Miss Nia, 83 Aborigine, Death to Self, Donette McCoy, Sister Cherokee Tulu. Honor to you all. Right?
perhaps you didn't mean to, perhaps you didn't think about it, perhaps in retrospect it was a bad idea. But yeah, that was part of the complaint, and you all posted my home address, my driver's license number, my personal cell phone number. Yes, you did.
They
Go
posted
back
all
and
that
look
shit.
at your records. You all did.
Now, the reason why they did that, because at the time, she was still a public official. So all that information is supposed to be public. But I guarantee you right now, if you go and type up your public official for your area, or your mayor or your governor's information, or your county clerk, it don't show anywhere on Google. They will not show you that on Google, but it's supposed to be there. That's how they posted her shit. But now, right here, when they just did it right here during this forced interview, right? This is the third year. I think this was the third year. This right here was the third year. She lost all that weight. So this year, 2019, this is the fourth year, and they were still on her. So mind you, she's no longer a public official right here, and they're still posting where she lives to prisoners and everybody. At the beginning of this on video, you see them show where she lives, and they're going to try to, I guarantee they'll try to say, oh, the cameraman was just fixing. No, please. I know I handle cameras. I used to be a camera guy. You don't have to flip the camera all the way up in the air like that to set it how it's supposed to be set. You already saw that the tripods and everything was already set. So it's foolishness, straight foolishness.
You all did. You all did. At arraignment, you all did. It was part of the original paperwork. It was part of the packet that you received. You did redact it afterwards, but every single one of you did.
Well, I want you to understand.
You personally might not have.
But it's not our intention. We see your son out here. We see where you live. We don't want people to come to you.
But they do. But they do.
As a public official,
I deserve to be attacked.
No.
I deserve to be assaulted when I go to radio social by random psychotic people that are chasing me because I'm Judge Estacio. No, because that's what's happening. That's what's happening. This media firestorm is fueling people thinking that I'm not a human, thinking that I'm not a person, thinking that I don't have children, that I don't have feelings. They get behind a keyboard and they say ridiculous, crazy, heinous things, and they encourage people to accost me and to assault me and to see me in public and to think that it's their right to speak to me or to say crazy things to me or to do crazy things to me. That is what has been created here.
And you're blaming us for that.
I'm blaming a multitude of things, but yeah, the villainization by the media hasn't helped at all. And
here that we are reporting the facts. We're letting you comment. That's why we're here.
They're not reporting no facts.
There's something because we're going to report it, and we want you to have an ample opportunity.
no, you're going to go back to.
What they're doing is this. Every time she goes out, it's like what they do in shows like Love and Hip Hop and shit. They edit out shit to make it seem like it's something when it's really not. Right? That's what they keep doing to her. But at the end of the day, they have no evidence. Nothing to prove that she's doing any of these things more than, well, we feel what you feel don't matter. It doesn't matter. Right? But anyway, here we go.
The office and you're going to cut and paste and you're going to chop it up. And at the end of this, I'm probably going to have flipped somebody off and said, I hate everyone and I'm a racist. Like, that's what happens every time. And it's okay. It's fine. Like, I've accepted what it is. But
honor, Sean Allen, honor.
But you guys have a perspective that you come from, and you have a following that you encourage, and whatever, that's your job. You know, it's fine. It's a little sad for me. My daughter used to want to be in media, and this has completely destroyed that. She has said at first she was mad, and I said, don't be mad, this is their job. And she said, what a horrible job. And when your cameras are off and I like you guys plenty. Like, I don't have an issue with you. I understand that this is your job. But what a sucky job to try to document and record like the lowest points in a person's life. That must really, really suck. That's why I try not to be rude to you guys. That's why I try to smile when I see you. That's why I try, because this is your job. And I haven't always liked my jobs. I don't know. I mean, I'm not dead. So it's not really fair to make that assumption, is it? I'm kind of hoping that we're not hitting any more lows, but you know, I never know. I got up today to go to the dentist and found out from the media that this decision was coming out.
You didn't know. You didn't know.
No, I find out most of the things that happen to me from you guys.
They didn't contact you. They said they did this morning.
No, I didn't receive a call from anyone, and everyone has my phone number. I came out this morning and received a gigantic box, and I was like, guys, please stop coming to me.
You see what I mean? Like, imagine you have a case going on and you're finding out decisions that's going to be made on your case through the news media, or you have a friend that's watching the news and says, hey, check out so-and-so. They're talking about you. They've come to a decision about your case, and you weren't in court. You didn't get no phone call, no nothing. The news found out before you did. Like, that's crazy.
My house unannounced. I was going to the dentist. While at the dentist, Adam Chodak texted me and said, I heard there's a decision coming at 11. And I said, oh, maybe I should look inside this box. I typically find out what's happening in my life from you guys. I think that I've fought as much as I have because of my supporters, and I don't ever want them to think that they should give up or they should be bullied or they should allow, you know, people's opinions to sway how they react. But I'm tired. I'm tired. You know, everybody can talk about how much money I make as a judge. Sorry, I had to. He is a runner, and he will like go in the house and never come out again, please. And so he will terrorize the neighborhood. He attacked.
Now look, to show you how they're dirty. Remember they told her, "Oh, we don't film your son." You know, look, they didn't blurt her son's picture right there, right? Now again, this is what News 10, NBC. So this is MSNBC because all the NBCs come from the same head corporation, all right, from the same head office, all NBCs. So they showed her son right there, and they showed her address to where she lives. All right. Now this was what, 2018. This was last year, and at this time she was no longer a judge. Okay. So they showed her child's face, her underage child's face.
The other day, like it's a real problem.
That's it.
So I had to take it.
When I say that these elitist class people, these occultists, they have ways to send their messages. That's a message to her that they send it to her. That to me is a threat. So we can't break you. We're going to use your child against you. Right?
Advantage of that opportunity. You know, yeah, I make really good money as a judge. Sorry, guys, I made really good money before I was a judge. I was in private practice. I was a private attorney. I got paid in cash a lot. Like, I made money before this. I have a law license. I didn't get this job so I could make money. I already had money. And as you can see, like, I didn't move on up. I didn't move to Park Ave. I lived here before I got this job. That busted, broken Hyundai that's in my driveway had that before I got this job. You see how fancy I am when I'm not at work? Like, it hasn't changed me at all. And I think that's part of the.
See, she stayed real trill. She stayed down to earth. She did not change. Like a lot of our people, when they get positions like this, they'll change. They'll act snobby. They'll act uppity. They'll start looking down on you. She just stayed. She stayed in the same neighborhood. She stayed in the same house. She just didn't change. And that bothered them because she stayed a person with a conscience. That lets me know she wasn't a part of what they call the good old boys club, right? She wasn't a part of the good old boys club, okay?
problem. I'm the same person that I was when I was a teen mom. I'm the same person I was when I was struggling at MCC. I'm the same person I was when I was in the DA's office. I'm the same person I was in private practice. This is an amazing job, but it's not because of my income. It's not because of my income. This is an amazing job because I get to interact with people in the city of Rochester that look like me, that lived like me, that are going through what I went through to get where I am, and I get to show them that they can do something else. So to see you guys in this light is devastating because this is the opposite of everything I represent and everything I've spent my entire life to work for. So when I don't give up, yes, it's not because of me, because I could have a long time ago said, forget this, gone back into private practice, and I don't think you would have heard anything about me again. It's because I didn't that this continues to be a story. It's because I fight that this continues to be a story.
But it's also because there's charges
that continue to get dismissed. How many charges were there that got dismissed? How many times? The last time that I went into custody, literally, we had a conversation about how I didn't have to pay for a scram bracelet. I went into custody because I didn't have to pay for a bracelet. I didn't pay for it, and I went to jail for not doing something that I couldn't legally be ordered to do. And on appeal, what did the judge say? She never had to pay for that. When I got out of jail.
Now, look, you see how she tried to say, well, all these charges, and then she just hit her with, well, all those charges were dismissed because they were bullshit. Good day. On especially in the voice. Good day, Dartman. I was reading some executive orders, and all military is now in merchant marine status. Is that martial law status like Coast Guards? Merchant Marines are something like Coast Guards, but they're merchant Marines are also merchant Marines are those men and women that works on those cargo vessels that loads and unloads cargo vessels, transport cargo from one country to another. So I'm not quite sure. I'm going to have to really look into it. But what I'm figuring out is this: each state, each city, community that has a policy department, because y'all keep saying police and it's not police, it's pronounced policy. That has a policy department, that means that that neighborhood is under martial law, because that's what the policy officers are for. That's for martial law. Today, now, when you see them dressing up in the military gear, is because that's their true uniform. They are an occupying army. They're an occupying corporate funded military. So all these years that they've been in your community, like I said, and I always will keep saying this to you guys, you have a sheriff department. There's no need for policy officers. The sheriff is the law man. The sheriff, you, the people elected the sheriff. You, the people, gave the sheriff the power to deputize other deputies to work in the sheriff's department. Anything else that's outside of the sheriff's department that's also operate as a deputized component of the sheriff's office, but they don't work in the sheriff's office, they're an occupying army that just used the sheriff's office as a means to stay in your neighborhood. Okay, that's martial law. So this is why when they pull you over, when they approach you, they make you feel like you don't have a choice. That's what they call a police state. Police state is a community that's locked in martial law. So you have always been in martial law, because as long as there's warfare going on, it doesn't matter what the warfare is. Like they said, they claim that there's a war on drugs, there's a war on poverty, there's a war on homelessness. Anytime you have a president or any city or state officials that use the word war in any of these things, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be overseas going bang, 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 shoot them up, bang, bang. Anytime they started using these type of terms, a war on drugs, a war on homelessness, a war on hunger, that gives them the right to keep martial law going. So martial law has been enforced upon the people for almost over 100 years now, and still going. Okay, so martial law has always been implemented. So this is why you see folks who are sovereign or folks who push sovereignty is sticking to that sovereign gun and is sticking to that sovereignty because they're not moving from it because they know that the whole policy officer department is bullshit. It's human trafficking, which is why I'm showing this also because you're gonna see that these two sisters, how they handle their caseloads, they weren't just speeding through the cases to just lock and send people through the system. You see what I'm saying? So this is why they were being targeted also by their higher ups. But martial law has always been around. It's always been around, sis. Always been around.
And they said, "Oh, I never had to go to probation." Yeah, it was big news. I knew it. I'm a judge. You think I didn't know I didn't have to go to probation? I didn't have to go to probation. I never got terms and conditions. I went because I wanted you guys to go away and leave me alone. I didn't want to be a story anymore.
And it just made it worse when she did that. She didn't have to do it. That's true.
I knew I didn't have to pay for that. I paid for it because I didn't want to be a story anymore. So yeah, violations every day. Yes, I held a cup. I'm probably violating some law. I'm jaywalking. So tonight at 11, you guys go crazy. This is Discon. We're all about to go to jail. Except you're all good. You're all perfectly fine. I'm the only one that's going to have a VOP filed tomorrow for disorderly conduct for standing in the middle of the street. So yeah, violation after violation. It's news because you want it to be.
You don't want to be. These are
maybe holding a cuff is not a crime.
But I'm not accusing you of a crime. The court is.
No, Berkeley Green posted a photo and the court responded. This entire case has been media driven. I've never, ever seen a case that is more clear cut driven by the media. The media says this.
Play out for you. I mean,
it should be the law.
Fight, not your fight, girl.
Thank you. It should be the law. It should.
See that? And the people still support her. See that even the biker that drove by sent his support towards her. So like she said, when she's saying Berkeley News, it's the media that's stalking her and sending ammo back to the courts to hit her with. And those ammos are blanks. They're shooting blanks, but they know that they're shooting blanks. But the thing is, they're pressuring her and they're pressuring her and they're pressuring her to some of the things that she just conformed to, thinking that, all right, they're going to leave me alone now and just leave me be. And instead of them leaving her alone, they ramped it up on her. You see what I'm saying? United States Corporation, no jurisdiction on the people of the land. They've been running martial law under false treaties. Yeah, that's how I've been trying to tell you guys. Like, these treaties that they're speaking of, when they talk about the 5 civilized tribes or the 6 nations, look, man, my ancestors wasn't a part of none of that shit. My ancestors didn't sign none of those treaties that these so-called 5 civilized tribes, none of that shit, right? So who are these 5 civilized tribes? Who were they seeking treaties for? Where are the marks? Where are their seals, right? Where are their prints on these documents? Now you have to understand also more detail what a treaty is. Like you can formulate your documents right now and put it that it is a treaty, and you could go to your sheriff's office, your mayor, your governor, so on and so on, and tell them that you want a treaty with them. You want a treaty with their department. Have a verbal sit down with them, come to some agreements, and that's considered a treaty, i.e., a contract. Also at the same time, verbal or written, right? So no one knows at the time verbally what was going on with those supposed nations and the colonizers. Okay, and mind you, even before the wars broke out, you still had infiltrations of the colonizers that befriended some of these nations and bred it into these nations, and their children came into some form of power, knowing the agenda, and gave up those nations' land. These things was actually happening. So when I'm saying that the treacherous act started from within, and then the colonizers came and took advantage of what was going on from within, you had a few nations that sold out the majority of what was going on. And some of these nations that was a part of the Iroquois were forced to join the Iroquois Confederacy. Right? That link that I gave you guys to Benjamin Franklin, that 400-something pages, it's going to lead you to another book of his, and it's going to break down that some of the tribes were forced to join the Iroquois. It's in all, I think it was about 10 to 21 supposed treaties that they say that they have. Mind you, there were thousands of tribes. Okay? So everything that's been going on it's been fraud, been happening on the forged documentations, on the fraudulent treaties, fraudulent acts, everything that's been going on. So yeah. But anyway, back to our sister right here though. So let's back it up back a little bit. So she's pretty much breaking down like, look, man, you guys have been targeting me for this X amount of period of time for how long? And you're the ones that keep sending in information to the courts, and the courts don't have anything on me, and you didn't even fact check to see what it is I was doing, what it is I had in my cup. Because when they hit her with her first probation violation, they said that she was drinking. They said that they caught her drinking, but she had a cup, but no one could say what was in the cup. I don't care if you see 100 liquor bottles on a table around me. If you don't know what's in that cup, you can't tell me that I was drinking any of those liquor, especially if I'm not the only one that's there. And this is what they were doing to her. And she went out, if they saw her smiling and happy, having a good time, they after her to kill her smile. Like as you see, she's still in the same neighborhood that she's been in for years, that she grew up in. She has not left the neighborhood that she grew up in. She's in the neighborhood. She said she was a teen mom. That's the neighborhood she was when she was a teen mom. When she was going through her struggles, going to school, that's the neighborhood that she was in. When she was raising her other children, that's the neighborhood that she was in. When she became a lawyer, that's the neighborhood that she always lived in. When she became a judge, that's the house in the neighborhood that she is still in. She has not changed. She knows the neighborhood. She knows what's going on in the neighborhood, and they want her out. But they have to demonize her. They have to break her at all costs. They have to make it seem, they have to try to drive her crazy, and she's keeping her sanity because she knows what happens if you get upset, get belligerent, and the system mark you as crazy. Okay? They'll mark you as suicidal. Now, my praise is out to her and her family, because these 6 months that they're trying to get her, that they sentenced her to do, because 180 days, I think that's about 6 months that they sentenced her to do. I just hope that it doesn't come out, oh, former judge so-and-so was caught hung in her cell or overdosed on. So you know how they do. You know how they do. Right? When they can't break you. So,
I can't imagine an instance in which an individual is arrested or charged.
I don't know. I can't speak for other folks' ancestry, especially of ours, but I can speak for mine. When my folks went up into the mountains, it was because of a combat strategy, right? We knew that the colonizers didn't know the grounds to climb up into those mountains. They didn't know the secret passageways. They didn't know any of those things, and that's where majority of the food was growing at, was up into the mountains, and we had more shelter up into those areas away from all sorts of attacks. The higher ground is always the advantage in warfare because you can see the enemy coming from afar. You can't stay low down below and think you're going to see the enemy coming down through some trees and some bushes and stuff. That's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So I can't speak for everybody else's nationality, but as a war strategy, the folks who they wrongfully call Maroons, that was a strategy that was used, and that's why they were never defeated.
With violating for literally holding a cup. I don't know if there's liquid in the cup. I don't know what the liquid is, but you're holding a cup, and that's a violation of a conditional discharge. This is insanity. I sit in my house and I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. You could go to Thailand legally. You had no court appearances pending. You had done everything you were ordered by the court to do, but you shouldn't have gone. So we're going to tell you on Friday that you have court on Tuesday. No, and Monday is a holiday, and you're in Asia. And if you fail to appear with literally no business days notice, you violated the terms and conditions of your conditional discharge, and you go to jail?
So seeing how the court system has worked out, these questions.
That's why I'm a judge, baby girl. That's exactly why I'm here, because the court system works out differently for different people, and that's a problem. That's a problem.
And you're proving that.
I didn't mean to. That was not my goal. I just wanted to be on the bench and to change it. I wanted to be the change that I wanted to see. That was the point, to be the change. But I just told you about another case where you said he took his punishment. I beg to differ. You know, it's not new to me. I'm from the streets. I'm from, my family is, I live here for a reason. So it's not new to me. The terrifying thing to me is if it can happen to me, right? An elected official with a law degree on television, which is making international news. Like this is not national news. This is international news. If it can happen to me with all of you watching, I'm terrified of what happens to everyone else. I am scared. I am worried. I am not in this position for me. I have a law license. I've been practicing more than 5 years. I can move to somewhere else where nobody knows that I exist. I can go to an island. I'm a fan of Thailand. I like Mexico. I don't even have to be in the United States. I can speak enough Spanish to get by. Like, this is not about me. This has actually never been about me. This has never been about me. The best example I have is I remember talking to, and I don't remember, Clarette, I think, gorgeous newscaster, who was downtown, who was just filming the Black Lives Matter protest on East Avenue, and her counterpart got arrested. And I sent her a message, and I was like, I'm sorry that this happens to you. And I know you already know. You're doing your job. I know you already know, and it must be difficult, but I'm sorry that this is happening to you. I just want to reach out and say that. We can pretend that we don't see what's going on here. We all can if you'd like, but nobody's dumb and nobody's blind. I'm not the first judge to ever be charged with DWI. I'm sure I won't be the last. I would like to know what reason there is to deviate from what has always been the standard operating procedure.
But he pretty clearly outlined it. He said today you wouldn't have likely lost your position had it been just that DUI. It was everything that came after that.
So when you talk to me about the judge who literally got arrested for DWI twice, what's your answer then?
I don't know.
When you talk to me about the judge that, well, I'm referencing plenty. When you talk about the judge that led the police on a 2-mile chase after flipping a car, when you talk about the judge that literally opened the trunk after the police told him not to and said, I want to show you that I'm a judge. When you talk about the judge that urinated on a police car, when you talk about the judge that tried to take the police officer's gun, when you talk about the judge that literally called the district attorney's office from the police barracks and said, oh, what are you going to do? I'm getting arrested for DWI. When you talk about using your influence and using your role, you can say whatever you want. He can say whatever he wants.
You saw how she shut her up? Copper Color Brown, give me a sec. You see how she shut her up? Because she stayed trying to come at her like, well, he said that's hearsay, but you see how she came back with her with facts? Because this reporter claimed that, well, what we're reporting is facts. No, you're not. You're making up shit and you're ruining this woman's life. That's what you're doing. So now she hit you back with facts, right? None of these judges is going through what she's going through for something that they can't prove. They can't prove that she ever was drinking at 8 a.m. in the morning on her way to work. They can't prove it. They can't prove it. You see what I'm saying? And what this shows, and the reason why I'm showing this also is because it's a lot of folks that went through DUIs that were the officer's opinion is what mattered more so than the breathalyzer test. So she refused to do the breathalyzer while folks is being arrested for not doing a breathalyzer. It's not an arrestable offense. You have all right to turn down doing a breathalyzer because I guarantee if you said, you know what, I want a lawyer. I'm not talking you no more. You keep your mouth shut. Don't say nothing. Your lawyer comes. You don't have to do the breathalyzer. You walk, right? Or if you say you're invoking your constitutional rights, you're not doing the breathalyzer, right? And they still decide, well, we're going to arrest you anyway. They have to arrest you based off the premise that a crime has been committed. So what crime has been committed? They have to bring forth an injured party, someone that has been injured, property that has been damaged. They have none of those things. In her case, in many cases, what happens is the policy officer that arrested you, he becomes the complainant, meaning that he filed a complaint against you that you did something to him, which is fraud. That's how they get you behind bars. That's how they have to get you through the court system because that officer, if those who have been arrested, if y'all look on your documents, it has the officer as the complainant or the state as the complainant. Now the state has to prove who the state is. Who's this man and woman whose name is the state of? They have to bring forth a living, breathing person before they can carry on in these non-criminal offenses. Now, if you have committed a criminal act, if you have destroyed someone's property or harmed a natural living person, then they could do what they have to do. Okay, but if you have not done any of those things, what they're doing to her is unjust. That's why she labeled and stated everything that those other judges have done, and they didn't lose their judgeship. They weren't being harassed every day like how she was for something that was unproven. Now to copper colored brown. You said I ran into a brick wall when searching out my great great grandfather. His parents are on a private tree that I don't have. That's probably the Mormons church. That's probably the Mormons church that have that shit. And some of them are giving you stipulations now, which of that you have to have certain type of requirements before you could get those records. You could try. It's a couple things. You could try contacting them, the Mormons church, right? Calling them up, contacting them, see what can be done. You can again try back your the area in which you were born in. Go back to their public records and tell them that you want like 4 to 5 generations, 6 generations of your family history, if they have it, right? The areas that your family mostly lived. Go to those areas and tell them that you're requesting 4 to 5 generations of your family history, right? They should be able to provide it for you. So you'd have to go back to these areas. Just like I said, it's going to be footwork, or you could reach out to someone that knows how to do genealogy and have them do the rest of the work for you. Okay. But it's gonna be a fight because they're gonna try to keep this information from you because they don't want you to have this information. All right. So they're gonna start throwing a lot of red tapes at us now because the cat's out the bag that we're looking and that we're searching. All right. You're gonna have to go back to St. Louis. You're gonna have to go to St. Louis, on public records, and you call them up. Call them up. There should be their county clerk office. Call them up. They're gonna try to give you a lot of runaround, but look, the county clerk has the public record. Okay, the county clerk office has a public record. That's also the probate court. All right, you're looking for your family history. You're trying to track back through public records. Sometimes you have to go down to these places because they try to give you the runaround over the phone also as well. So you're gonna have to go down to these places also. But yeah.
I'm saying that I'm not blind. If you would like to pretend that the issue is something other than what it is, that's totally fine.
He also said, though, that he didn't like your conduct on the bench in 2015. Do you know what he's referencing?
All right, so now peep. I want you to peep how certain things, comments that's being made, how it goes very low, and then certain comments come very high. So the cameraman that's behind him, that's operating the camera, he's trying to. Oh my! He's the one that showed her home. He's the one that showed her son. He didn't edit out none of this stuff. He's obviously with her, But anyway, so now Pete, it's getting down to now the real reason to why they're effing with her. The judge states that he didn't like her conduct while she was on the bench. Pete, let's back up.
When you talk about the judge that tried to take the police officer's gun, when you talk about the judge that literally called the district attorney's office from the police barracks and said, "Oh, what are you going to do? I'm getting arrested for DWI." When you talk about using your influence and using your role, you can say whatever you want. He can say whatever he wants. I'm saying that I'm not blind. If you would like to pretend that
You're welcome,
the issue
brother.
is
You're welcome.
something other than what it is, that's totally fine.
He also said, though, that he didn't like your conduct on the bench in 2015. Do you know what he's referencing? A couple cases that he said he thought what you said was inappropriate for the defendant.
That's totally he's entitled to his opinion. A lot of people don't like my conduct. I rub a lot of people wrong in the beginning, and then I grow on them. They like me in the long run. I have a smart mouth, but I have a good heart. And
She's
that
from the
has
hood.
been, I think, obvious the entire time that you guys have been doing this. You get what you give. So if you give me an attitude, you get an attitude. If you give me respect, you get respect. That's why just now we said I didn't. I'm like, you know what? You're right. You didn't. I don't have an issue with you. This is your job. But when you're rude to me, when you're combative to me, when you're argumentative to me, that's what you get in return. And I think that I've tried to work on that, because I think if I would have been a little less attitude-y, we probably wouldn't even be here now. If I would have known my place when this whole incident occurred, yeah, they're annoying. They're super annoying. They do this. Oh my God, they do it all night too. But then we might not be in this situation, but we are. And, you know, this is how you guys get me, right? Because I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. And 17 hours later, let me tell you, I am not a be quiet person. Probably haven't noticed. I am not a rollover person. I am not a person who just takes what is dished out to me. So this has been really hard, because that is always the advice. Like, just be quiet, just stay under the radar. And that's not really my MO. And so it's been very difficult to do that.
What happened for you?
You know, there's a meme that I saw the other day, and I will just paraphrase them. It says, I'm only going to...
All right, so I'm going to find the video where they were sentencing her now, right? So, Pete, so she's strong. She's from the hood. She's strong. So, you know, folks who are from the hood, we've been through it all. So they took away her salary that she was making. They took away her seat as being a judge. She went back to being a private attorney, right? Or a lawyer, right? She went back to doing that. Now they wanted to make her suffer. But the thing is, you see, people like us, when you come from poverty, right? Sometimes with sometimes like us from the islands, like when I was growing up in the islands, right? I didn't even know that we was poor. And you know what? The other day we kept a dinner here honoring my grandmother, right? And we was thanking her for everything that she taught us, that she been through with us, everything that we learned from her. And it's because of her, we didn't know when we were younger that we were poor, right? It would be 2 beds in a room, 5 on each bed. Those who couldn't fit on the bed will go and lay in my grandmother's room with my grandmother. My mother and father used to sleep in the kitchen. This is back home. But still, us as young children, we didn't know that we were poor, because the folks in the household all came together to make sure that the children were without. And when my grandmother cooked, the entire community can come in the house and get some of what she cooked. So it wasn't like, well, it's just for us. We were, you know what I mean? So these are the things that we grew up knowing. So we didn't know that we were poor. We learned how to survive on very little, and how to still make that very little share for those who also are not from our household, right? So my grandmother will cook, and literally folks will come from off the street and come in, and they will have a plate. If it's a chicken leg, that chicken leg is getting cut up for 16 people. Oh, right. So, you know, it's like, you know, it's what it is. So she grew up, she came from nothing. She was poor, like a lot of us were when we were younger. So these people think that once you take from some folks that come into money, that's poor, that come into money, that act like they didn't know how to survive when they were poor. She's not one of them. You see what I'm saying? She's not one of them. So even if they took away the money from her, she still knows how to survive, because she still has that survival instinct in her. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, they're trying to break her, and it's not happening. I'm gonna show y'all that it's not happening. Give me a sec. Let me pull up the other video. But yeah, like my grandmother, man, my grandmother is one of the reasons why I have so much respect for just hardworking people out there. Why I try to treat females with as much respect as possible, especially hardworking ones. or females that I see that have their children and still go all out to take care of their children and still teach their children to still share or be kind with those in the community as well, but at the same time don't be a softy, right? Because she didn't teach us to be soft. Also, my grandmother's also one of those grandmothers that was like, don't you dare let that person out there whoop your ass and come back in here thinking that, you know what I mean? You better defend yourself. Also, like, defend yourself when you know that you're right. When you are in the wrong, still come to her and let her know if you were in the wrong, so that if she go out there to defend you, she won't look stupid. You know what I mean? That's not just our grandmother. Like, our parents learned that. Like, my father wasn't raised with his parents. You know what I mean? Like, my father's father abandoned him when he was young. His mother left for a long time, years. Left him. My father grew up poor, poor. Right? My grandmother took him in, and my grandmother raised him as if he was one of her own. Right? And it's not just my pops, even my aunt's common law husband. She did the same thing with him. And this is also why, like, even if I don't know you that well, I will open up my home to you and let you stay here. You know what I mean? Unless I feel like you're trying to pass your place now, then you're gonna have to go. But for the most part, it will be open. You see what I'm saying? It's we got that from her. So this sister right here, in the rest of the interview, she's gonna let them know that she grew up poor. She worked hard for what she has, and these people think by taking everything away from her that it's going to break her. It's not going to break her, because she's already used to. She knows how to survive off of nothing, so it's not going to break her. You know what I mean? So this is just what it is. So but let me get into the Give me one sec here. Let me pull up the other fit of her. Because this is ridiculous for a DUI that they can't prove, that they cannot prove. A DUI that they cannot prove. For 4 years. 4 years of going through this dumb shit. They just want her to conform, and she's not doing it. Where is it? Give me a second here, y'all. I'm looking for it right now to pull it up. Oh, part 2 of my Watchmen breakdown is still coming. It's just that I was looking at some other stuff and pertaining to Watchmen, and this stuff is so deep. It's so deep. This stuff covers our history in certain wars. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. That's all I can say right now. Right? And there's other series where they have a Dr. Manhattan in the other series as well. Right? And the Dr. Manhattan is being and that person is being portrayed by a darker view person. Where is it? What's going on here? Come on. Where are you? Let me try to type it. I don't know why it's not coming out. Okay, I think I found it. Give me 1 second, y'all. Make sure that it's it. All right. Let me hit back the screen share. 1 sec. This is from News 8, WROC. Let me hit back the screen share so that you guys can see. Now, even this judge is an asshole. That's my opinion. This is for a DUI that they cannot prove. This is crazy. This is showing how corrupt this system is.
It's a violation of probation matter. The matter
She lost so much weight. Oh, she's beautiful.
Due to the fact we don't have a probation officer here in front of us. And I know I've said this to you several times since we've met. You have the right to an attorney through all stages of these proceedings. You continue to represent yourself at the previous hearings and the dates we've had here. Is that your wish today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you understand that you have the right to an attorney, you're waiving that right?
No, Judge, I'm proceeding as my own
I
attorney.
understand that. Okay. And so can this matter be disposed of today? That was the last question that we had here on the record. You have a copy of the declaration of delinquency alleging 3 violations of your probation. Is it your position that you wish to admit today and go forward with sentencing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Kwan, is that your understanding as well?
Yes, if she is willing to admit, then yes, that's up to her, but that's fine.
All right, Mrs. Stasio, you have several rights that you be waiving in exchange for admitting to the violation.
Now, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the witch hunt, right? This is also symbolism because this so far has been an attack on melanated female judges, right, of the Americas. And if you understand the history of the witch hunt, it started off with melanated females who were the top-notch herbalists at the time, the top-notch curers of all diseases, cure ailments, anything that was coming your way, they could cure it. They were also binders of what you call evil spirits or demons. They knew how to bind them also as well, right? But more so, the grimoire was a book of cures. Book of cures, how to cure also all sorts of ailments and diseases and viruses, right? How to come up with also the antidote for many different types of viruses. But if you notice throughout the history of the witch hunt, they will murder the witch but keep her books. They'll murder the witches and the warlocks but keep their books of all the diseases, viruses and cures and antidotes, and which is what they're using back on you today. All right. But anyway, this reminds me of a witch hunt where they falsely accuse the witch of something, even though they don't have no evidence, and they go off of just pulling shit out their hat and burning her at the stake. This is literally what it is. And you can see here that she's just tired. She's like, fuck it. She's like, do what you got to do. Like, she's done. Like, she's tired. It's going on 4 years now, and she still won't submit, and she still won't break to what they want. She's just not going to do it. And they're still, and this is to show you, this is why I say, again, angels and demons. This is to show you how demonic these people are. And this judge is going to spew a whole bunch of bullshit to why she gave her 180 days in jail. And it makes no sense because she committed no crime. No crime at all did she commit. And what they were accusing her for, they can't even find evidence that she even did it. This is why this shit is blowing my mind right now. Anyway, let's go. She's so beautiful.
Violations this morning. First of all, you're waiving your right to have an attorney with you. You are an attorney, and I understand it. You also have the right to a hearing where the people have to prove that you violated the terms and conditions of your probation by a preponderance of the evidence. Do you waive your right to a hearing?
I do.
Now look, she's just done. She's done. She's just tired. She's done. She was like, just give me this time. I'll do this time. But once she does her time, they have to leave her alone now. There's no excuse for them to keep messing with her. But anyway, another reason why I'm showing these footages to you guys is to show you when they tell you that you have to have a lawyer, you don't. See, she waived her right to an attorney. One, she's a former judge. Now she's back to being a private attorney, right? So she knows she don't need nobody from the state representing her. She can represent herself, or you could get what they call counsel. When they say counsel doesn't mean one of their attorneys or a lawyer. Counsel means someone that knows law. Somebody that knows law. They don't have to have a bar certificate, none of that. Because there's no such thing as a law license. It's a bar certificate. Okay. So you hear that also when you any courtroom that you step into, if you want a trial by jury, they have to give that to you. They have to give that to you. They have to give you a trial by jury. Have to give that to you.
Also waive your right to cross-examine the witnesses that the prosecutor would call to testify against you at the hearing.
I do.
Oh, and that's also another thing. So I'm gonna play it back so that you hear what the judge is saying. Anyone that accuses you of something, even if it's a policy officer, when you go into court, you have all right to cross-examine them. You know that, right? So you have a right to a jury trial, and you have a right to cross-examine the officer. So if you want to do that, you have all right to do so. You have all right to cross-examine any witnesses that they claim that they have. This is why when they say, "Oh, we got a phone call that you were here on so and so property, and someone called us, so we came just to check you out." And when you ask, "Well, who called?" You have all right to face your accuser also, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, we can't tell you that. We can't give you that information." That's a lie, okay? Because if y'all went into the courtroom, they have to provide that information of who called, who accused you of something that you didn't do. Otherwise, from that, they're just lying and they made it up to harass you on the streets. So you can also cross-examine the officer that accused you of something. Because remember, on your paperwork, the officer is put as the complainant. So he has to state what his complaint is against you, and it has to be an actual crime. Like he has to show you the injured party or the damaged property. Okay, they have to bring forth the injured party. Where's the injured party? There is none. That means you committed no crime. You broke no laws. All right. So that shows the fraud of which the officer has committed by committing perjury, by lying. So that's why you want them to swear. You want him to swear on that, put his hand on that Bible and take that oath and swear. Because that's when you put your hand on the Bible and you say, "I do," you took an oath. Okay? You swore not to lie. You took an oath. That's what that is. That's why they have to have you do that. But anyway, let me back it back up and let it play out.
Can it show up the other case? Yeah, okay. Back on the record, People versus Letitia Stasio, please come back up, Mrs. Stasio. This is a violation of probation matter. The matter scheduled today for possible disposition due to the fact that we don't have a probation officer here in front of us. And I know I've said this to you several times since we've met. You have the right to an attorney through all stages of these proceedings. You continue to represent yourself at the previous hearings and the dates we've had here. Is that your wish today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you understand that you have the right to an attorney, you're waiving that right.
No, Judge, I'm proceeding as my own
I
attorney.
understand that. Okay. And so can this matter be disposed of today? That was the last question that we had here on the record. You have a copy of the declaration of delinquency alleging 3 violations of your probation. Is it your position that you wish to admit today and go forward with sentencing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Kwam, is that your understanding as well?
Yes, if she is willing to admit, then yes, that's up to her, but that's fine.
All right, Mrs. Stasio, you have several rights.
Man, I'll file so many fraud charges on these folks.
Violations this morning. First of all, you're waiving your right to have an attorney with you. You are an attorney, I understand this. You also have the right to a hearing where the people have to prove that you violated the terms and conditions of your probation by the preponderance of the evidence. Do you waive your right to a hearing?
I do.
You also waive your right to cross-examine the witnesses that the prosecutor would call to testify against you at the hearing?
I do.
You also waive your right to call your own witnesses in your defense at the hearing.
Yes.
And you waive your right to testify at the hearing, although no one could force you to testify.
Yes.
Are you making this admission knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently?
Yes.
Has anyone forced you or threatened you or promised you anything in exchange for your admission?
No.
Do you feel under any duress or coercion at the present time?
No.
Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol right now, which regards your judgment?
No.
Do you recall being placed on probation by Judge Aronson?
Yes.
Did you receive a copy of the terms and conditions of the probation sentence?
At some point.
Okay, at some point.
Yes.
Okay, but you did. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, in fact, you did sign off on the conditions of probation.
Yes,
Okay, did you understand the terms and conditions of probation?
yes,
Do you admit that you failed to report as directed to probation on August 13th, 2019 and August 20th, 2019?
yes,
And do you admit that you didn't appear to probation for a few months thereafter?
Judge, with all due respect, I think that the one admission is sufficient for the declaration of
If you don't want
delinquency.
to answer that, you don't have to.
I don't want to.
Do you admit that you failed to cooperate with the ignition interlock program as required by section 1193 subdivision C?
No, I don't admit that. I deny that.
You deny that?
I do, but I've already pled guilty, Judge.
Did you admit that you failed to abstain from using or possessing alcoholic beverages?
No, I don't.
Okay. Mr. Kwan, are you satisfied with just her admitting to paragraph 1? Or
Your Honor, I believe in order for the court to find a violation of the probation has occurred, she only needs to admit to the one violation. And if the court is satisfied, the court is in a position to sentence her accordingly.
So
But
pretty
in
much
terms
he's
of whether
telling
or
the
not
judge
she is at-
what he's really doing. He's really telling the judge sentence her right now. That's what he's saying today. Let that shit start kicking immediately today. So they're really talking. They're really telling each other what they're about to do to her, and she knows that. She knows that, right? She definitely knows that, and she's going to point it out to them too. So they don't like that neither.
adequately pled, the people are in the position of yes, she has.
all right. People are satisfied. I'll be satisfied as
Now, here's another thing. When you hear them say the people are satisfied. Who is the people? Who is satisfied? Who are you calling the people? Because they're saying it's the people versus Leticia Estacio, right? So who is the people? They have to show who the people is. So pretty much it's the prosecutor blaming her for something that they can't prove, and the judge right here blaming her for something that she can't prove. Mind you, her job is supposed to be as a moderator, a moderator. That's her job. Her job is to also serve like as a referee. You know what I mean? That's her job, to hear out both sides or whatever, but she's obviously going to be doing more than that. For even him to say, well, I think you should sentence her, or sentencing should commence today, that's not his job to tell her any of that stuff. You see what I'm saying? But they're communicating with each other to what they're going to do to her. That's all it is.
well. Your admission that you didn't show up to probation beginning August.
So this is what you have.
and August
Now,
20th, 2019.
Let me pause this again. Now, this is what is called a color of law court. All right. This is color of law. This is not law. This is a courtroom of policy, a corporate courtroom. Okay. So it's a color of law courtroom. This is what this is. Color of law, meaning they'll tell you that you broke the law, but it's not an actual law. It's really a policy. Okay. So pretty much this is a policy courtroom. This is what it is. And this person is acting as a magistrate, acting as a judge, acting as a bishop, or what you call a God damn, I can't remember the other name. But anyway, she's acting. She's not really a judge. She's not really a magistrate, because this is a policy court. Okay? If this is a court for the living, breathing man, then she wouldn't be saying the people are satisfied, because now they have to show who the people are. That means they're saying someone launched a complaint against Leticia Estacio, Judge Leticia Estacio. So who launched the complaint against Judge Leticia Estacio? They have to show that. Instead, they're operating the same, well, the people, and then they're calling the people the state. Who the hell is the state? Where is this person? Where is this natural breathing person? Where is this live, living, breathing person? Who is this person that is accusing me of these things? They have to show these things. But again, like I said, our sister approached this from a corporate standpoint, and because she approached this still locking herself in their jurisdiction, they screwed her. But she can still come out of their jurisdiction, even if she's doing 6 months, and still come back and still get her remedy and still get her justice that she's supposed to get on every single one of them. Everyone that had a hand in this. Yes, Dry Bones Rising. It's an administrative court.
find that you violated the terms and conditions of your probation, that you did so knowingly. Now, with regards to sentencing, do you wish to be heard?
Briefly, Your Honor, obviously, as a violation of probation, it is up to the court to sentence Ms. Estacio as she sees fit. However, it is the position of the people that, based on not only her violation of failing to report, but her violation of the conditional discharge that put her on probation in the first place, her inability to adhere to probation going forward from that it is the people's position that the only alternative left to the court is to sentence Ms. Estacio to a term of incarceration, and that would be the position of the people.
Ms. Estacio?
Judge, honestly,
Now, Pete, here you have a conflict of interest, right? Because okay, she's no longer a judge, but the prosecutor and the person acting as judge are part of the bar association. Now, hear what he said. Let's back it up, because he said that the people wants her to be sentenced, right? But and then he says it's going to be up to the people to make that decision. So if he's acting as the people and the magistrate is acting as the people, then who the hell it really is the people? Because they're both saying that they're accusing her of something. That's pretty much what they're both saying, right? So they both are in cahoots, which is a conflict of interest. You see what I'm saying? So now here, let's back it up again. Yeah, I totally get it. Especially Navarre's or honor, Sister Liz Robinson, honor.
Probation in the first place, her inability to adhere to probation going forward from that it is the people's position that the only alternative left to the court is to sentence Ms. Estacio to a term of incarceration.
So he told the judge to sentence her. He pretty much told the judge to sentence her, right? So he said it's the people's only concern, right? And then he's also going to call the judge also the people.
Forward from that it is the people's position that the only alternative left to the court.
Yeah, I know that dry bones rising, but it's just for sake.
And that would be the position of the people.
Ms. Estacio?
Judge, honestly, I'm blindsided. I've spoken to Mr. Pham about this several times.
Yeah, he
His
screwed
position
over.
has always been that the people take no position. And in fact, in pretrial conferences, he's asserted that a time served disposition would be appropriate in light of the fact that I've served approximately 4 months in jail on a misdemeanor DWI. So I'm surprised that.
So Pete, see, she did 4 months before, right? And now she's about to do 6 months, right? That's pretty much a year totally combined for a charge that they cannot prove. That's the thing that's killing me here. They can't prove it.
He would make this statement on the record, on the news for the first time ever. I think it's disingenuous at best. But Judge, I think that it's easy to lose sight of the facts in this case. This case, like a case that I've cited before, People v. Purpura, which is a county court case, which was appealed from the Monroe County District Attorney's Office when an individual got probation, was sentenced to 9 months in jail. Judge Chacho, the county court here, said that was inappropriate, and he conducts an entire analysis of why it's inappropriate. What he says is that no matter what happens in a criminal case, you always go back to the initial crime,
Exactly.
initial offense. In that case, as in this case, it was a mistake.
Now, in this case, there's no crime, right? like I said, she's fighting this from a corporate standpoint, and that's what did her in. You see what I'm saying? This is what did her in. So she again, she was young on the bench as a judge, so she didn't really spend that long of a term on the bench as a judge, right? Because before that, she was practicing law, supposed law. She was an attorney for 5 years, and then she was placed on the bench as a judge, okay, as a supposed judge, right? Which hasn't been that long, so she's young. So these things of approaching it from a certain standpoint, I don't think she was well learned in those portions yet, and it did her in. It did her in. It did her in, and they preyed on that. They preyed on top of that because she came at this from a corporate standpoint, from a corporate standpoint. But listen to what she's going to say here, right? So it goes back to the initial beginning of the case, and again, she broke no laws, right? She only, according to their corporate policies, she's in violation of their policies. But when it comes to law, she broke no law, and they're violating her constitutional rights, right? Because she's a citizen, right?
Of why it's inappropriate. What he says is that no matter what happens in a criminal case, you always go back to the initial crime, the initial offense. In that case, as in this case, it was a misdemeanor DWI. You look at the defendant as you find them at the time of the arrest. In my case, I was a city court judge. I had never been arrested in my life. I had never been charged with any offenses. You sentence the person based on what actually occurred. In my case, I passed my field sobriety test, but after conviction, I again had no evidence of an accident. There were no injuries. There was no aggravating factors. It was a standard misdemeanor.
See, so this is why she's also letting y'all know this, because she passed the field sobriety test. So there's no proof that she was drunk. You understand? So she wasn't drunk. Give me 1 second. I'm plugging my phone. Yeah. So she was not drunk. So she did do a field sobriety test. She passed it. She just didn't do the breathalyzer, right? Which she has all right to turn it down. So pretty much she's been persecuted, prosecuted, hounded, harassed, beaten up on for standing up for her rights, for her freedom, her free for implementing her rights in this case. Now, like she said, there's no damages, no injured person. There's none of that, right? So since there's none of that, but because at the time, here's the thing. At the time, she was still a public official at the time. So they're using the twisting of their corporate policies on her. Because she was a public official, she was still underneath their jurisdiction at that time. But now that she's not, she's had her seat of being a magistrate taken away from her. She could go back to the point of the beginning of the initial case to go back and fight it from a living, breathing man standpoint to let them know, well, there was no crime committed. There was no injured party. There was no property damage. I did pass my field sobriety test, and you have no case against me. So what is this? This is just a racist bigotry witch hunt to get another melanated judge off of their seat. Pretty much, this is what it was. And the fact that the people actually voted for her without her having any political backing, meaning that she actually has the trust of the people, unlike her predecessors and those of her peers at the time when she was in her position, right? So, Pete, let's see what she's saying. Then she turned to corporate. This is where she messed up at.
The arrest. In my case, I was a city court judge. I'd never been arrested in my life. I had never been charged with any offenses. You sentence the person based on what actually
back
occurred.
it up some more.
In my case, I passed my field sobriety test, but after conviction, I again had no evidence of an accident. There were no injuries. There was no aggravating factors. It was a standard misdemeanor DWI, for which most individuals would receive fines and a surcharge. Irrespective of what happens from the point of sentencing, and this isn't my words, Judge, this is Judge Chasho, who's a county court judge here, you always go back to that initial offense. This is still a misdemeanor DWI. This is a misdemeanor DWI that was alleged to have occurred in 2016, and we're going into 2020. I have served almost an entire year of a conditional discharge. I have served approximately 4 months in jail. I have served 2 years on probation. I'm not saying any of this to say, woe is me. You weren't the initial sentencing judge. I want you to be aware, if we're talking about penalties, that the penalties I've already sustained in this case. In addition, I was removed from the bench. Literally, the Court of Appeals held that career suicide was appropriate in my case. So I lost my entire career. I think if we're going to talk about penalties and justice and equity, this is an atypical sanction for a misdemeanor DWI conviction. In addition, one of the reasons that a person would be placed on probation, and this is again in the People v. Porpora decision, is substance abuse, which apparently has been the overarching concern here, that I have a problem with alcoholism. I've never been able to provide any proof to the court that I've completed an alcohol treatment program because I've never been ordered to attend one. I've obtained 3 to 5 OASIS certified evaluations, and none of them ever said I needed treatment. It is impossible for me to enter into a treatment program without a diagnosis. That's just not how insurance works. So I did voluntarily enter into one program that I completed, but that's all I could do. If I'm on probation to address a substance abuse issue, that certainly isn't occurring before this court because there's no proof that I have one. I got a mental health evaluation. There was no recommended treatment, but on my own, because candidly, this was very stressful, I got into therapy. I provided information from my therapist to my probation officer voluntarily. My therapist said, you need this to be over. What you're seeing is suffering from situational depression. You cannot move on with your life because this will not end. I provided proof of that to the court. I provided proof of that to probation. I'm not here out of defiance. I am here because the judicial system does not function to break people, and it is destroying me. Irrespective of what I look like when I come into court, whether I'm smiling and happy, this is difficult every day. It is embarrassing.
But the judicial system does function to break people in most cases, and that's what they're doing to her. And like I said, you can see on her face like she's just had enough. Right? Because she's going through all of this stuff for something that they can't prove that she did. She passed her field sobriety test. She committed no crimes. And like even our brother Haya Aru Aman Ray El Bay says, he says all courts hearing the prosecutor or to prove all elements of the crime. What are the elements of a crime? The elements of a crime or criminal act, criminal intent, concurrence, Caucasian harm. But anyway, they have to prove all of that, and they can't because, again, she didn't harm anyone. She didn't destroy anyone's property. You see what I'm saying? They don't have anything saying that she premeditated to go do some form of random criminal act towards anyone, any persons, or anyone's property. Or anyone in their persons, right? None of that happened. Now, there's no law saying that you can't have a drink and go behind and operate your automobile, your private conveyance. There's no law saying that. You see what I'm saying? Again, a breathalyzer. These are the tricks that they do to y'all with the breathalyzer. You can have, again, like I said in the beginning, you can have a cork or even half of a cork of, say, some Hennessy, half of a cork of a Hennessy, right? Down it, and you're going about your business. A cop can come and pull you over, tell you to do a breathalyzer. You blow into the breathalyzer. It showed that you had some alcohol, but it's not that high amount to where you will be deemed intoxicated. But the officer can say, you know what? I think you're intoxicated. Well, once you consumed any amount of alcohol, right? Any amount of alcohol, you have alcohol now in your system. So what exactly is being intoxicated? So that you could go, that officer could push his opinion on what he thinks, and it overrules the breathalyzer. Thus, she didn't do a breathalyzer because why? They gave her a field sobriety. I think that's when they tell you to go walk in a straight line, follow the light, but don't turn your head. She did all that shit and she passed. They just wanted her off the bench. And then the fact that they couldn't break her while doing so is why they're using the supposed justice system to treat her how they're treating her right now. So they use it as a weapon against her because why? Here's a sister from the hood that grew up in the hood, that stayed in the same hood, served as a lawyer, then served as a judge, living in the same hood. So she has the understanding of what's going on in the neighborhood, and she has the full support of the people. So now these corrupt individuals want her up out of there because I guarantee it that she's not playing the ball game that they want her to play. So she's not giving it that old football try, that old college try. She's not playing nice with the good old boys club or their sorority fraction orders. She's not doing that. So you know what? We're going to think of a reason. We're going to make up a reason to get rid of you. And at the same time, we're going to break you in the eyes of the public. And we want the public to see you break. But damn, she's not breaking. Damn, she's not backing down. Damn, she's not crying in tears. Boo hoo hoo hoo. And damn, she's not coming out apologizing. She's not doing none of this shit. So we're going to keep the charade going on from 2016 to 2020 for a non-criminal act. Something that she was supposed to just receive by their corporate standards, a citation. And it went from that to her being now imprisoned. This shit is crazy. So, you know, like she's still optimistic about the justice system, even though she's going through this shit. And it's like, damn, you know, like when are some of our people going to really fully get it? Like they use the system as a weapon against you because it looked like you were a righteous individual at some point, and they needed to get you up off of that judge seat, right? They needed to get you up off of there because it's like what you're seeing with the turkey leg hut in Atlanta. If anyone ain't familiar with the turkey leg hut. Anyway, so you have, they call them spotters. They call them, I think it's spotters that they call them. When you have Caucasian folks that move into what they call black neighborhoods and then try to move the businesses up out of the neighborhood by trying to hit them with city ordinance complaints and complain on them consistently to get them shut down. That's what's going on now with the turkey leg hut. You got a few people, and they took out like GoFundMe accounts and all of that to raise money for their lawyer fee to go at the turkey leg hut, and they're pulling in the money from donors to go at them, to keep their case going at them. Because why? It's a very successful what they call black-owned business. So they don't. When you're in certain positions of power, and it's one, then it becomes two. Then it becomes 3, 4, 5 of us. It's a trend. So imagine if they had 3,000 Negro judges in the United States corporation that was like her or that came from the hood, that didn't change, that understand the hood mentality and understands how the system is being used to also target a lot of our youngsters and young ones, and decided, well, they're going to be fair and give people in general enough of a chance to fight their cases and defend themselves instead of rushing these cases so that they can try to rush these children through the judicial system into human trafficking. They're going to want to get rid of you because too much of us now is coming into certain positions. So that means that the pendulum is being shifted. The position of power is being shifted, and they have to shift it back by getting rid of you. This is like when they burnt down the businesses in Tulsa. This is like when they burnt down Rosewood. This is like when they went off the Weeksville Village. This is why when they went off the Seneca Village. This is why you still see police officers being caught on camera leaving crack cocaine on the counters of Negro-owned businesses. This is why you're seeing these things, because again, being a judge or an acting judge, right? In this judicial system, one that is trying to be fair, is too dangerous for their corruption. So they turned the system against her to get rid of her. And because she won't break, she won't do like what these celebrities do when they come in front of, oh my God, I was wrong. Like, when Razby came out and was shown talking about all the sexual acts that they forced him to do when he was in B2K. Then he comes out now backtracking and he's best friends with all these dudes and all that. She's not doing that. You see what I'm saying? She ain't doing that. She's standing her ground, sticking to her guns. Why? Because she's a mother. Just like what Corinne Gaines is trying to teach her son, not to back down, not to be afraid. This is what she's doing. She's not backing down. She's not being afraid. There's things that she could have finessed where it would have never gotten this far. It would have never gotten this far if she'd approached it from an executor standpoint, because the judge the acting magistrate that's in front of her is acting as her as the executor or administrator towards her estate. This is what they're using to prosecute her right now, while she's supposed to take back control and turn the prosecutors into the defendants, because she has nothing to defend. She's not the defendant, and this is what she's not understanding, right? And I'm speaking from personal experience, okay, when it comes to this part of the courtroom procedure, all right. So when I went to go deal with my case, the prosecutor wasn't even allowed to open their mouth and speak. Wasn't even supposed to even look at me. They walked out the courtroom. Okay. So you got to understand when your paperwork, when you push through your paperwork and they know that they operate in a fraudulent capacity, there's not much that they can do if you decide, like her, to go in front of them. Now, once you go in front of them, there's certain things that you boom, as soon as it come out your mouth, they have to they're supposed to submit. Now, all the time they do it, they try to call you a bluff and still try to arrest you, but they have to let you go. And then you go back from there and you take it from there. Right? Like, but again, you know what I mean, to each their own. But this sister is, after I don't think she's going to do the full 6 months, but if she do, I just feel like she has a lot of great things coming her way. She has a lot of justice that she's going to receive. And I feel like a majority of the folks that had a hand in everything that happened to her, they're going to pay some form of a price, some form of a judicial or financial price when she's done with them. So she knows in the long run it's going to take a while. She has a patience. She can tell that she's a little tired though, but she's going to be vindicated. But this is a great lesson for her children to learn that, you know what I mean, don't back down no matter what. Because these people they run over you. They get away with so much when they see that they could break you. You saw in the beginning how dirty these news medias were. They try to use her son. They said, "Oh no, we will never show your child, and we won't show your child, and we never showed your home address." But the first thing they did in the beginning was show her home address, didn't blurt it out, and then they showed her child and didn't block his face out. Those are threats. Those are threats. Those are part of the game of what they do to break you so that they can seem like they were in the right. So then now when you come out and you backtrack on your statement, they push it all throughout the mainstream to make you look like a liar. Okay? To make you look like a liar. But anyway, let's keep going. She's running down what she's been through. And still they have no evidence. Let's back it up a little bit. They have no evidence to prove none of this shit on her. None.
One of the reasons that a person would be placed on probation, and this is again in the People v. Purpura decision, is substance abuse, which apparently has been the overarching concern here, that I have a problem with alcoholism. I've never been able to provide any proof to the court that I've completed an alcohol treatment program because I've never been ordered to attend one. I've obtained 3 to 5 OASIS certified evaluations, and none of them ever said I needed treatment. It is impossible for me to enter into a treatment program without a diagnosis. That's just not how insurance works. So I did voluntarily enter into one program that I completed, but that's all I could do. If I'm on probation to address a substance abuse issue, that certainly isn't occurring before this court because there's no proof that I have one. I got a mental health evaluation. There was no recommended treatment, but on my own, because candidly, this was very stressful, I got into therapy. I provided information from my therapist to my probation officer voluntarily. My therapist said, "You need this to be over. What you're seeing is suffering from situational depression. You cannot move on with your life because this will not end." I provided proof of that to the court. I provided proof of that to probation. I'm not here out of defiance. I am here because the judicial system does not function to break people, and it is deterring me, irrespective of what I look like when I come into court, whether I'm smiling and happy. And this is difficult every day. It is embarrassing, it is humiliating, and I cannot move forward. I cannot represent my clients because my mind is cloudy. I cannot come into court because I'm denied access regularly. I could not get here on time today because I have to stand in line. I cannot get a secure pass. It is difficult for me to get into the jail to see clients that I need to visit. It is difficult for me to work. And probation is supposed to help me, not harm me.
That's another thing. So she's still operating as an attorney, a lawyer, right? So she still has clients that she's dealing with in supposedly these criminal courts. Now, because she knows so much, I guarantee it that she's giving them all hell with the cases that she's handling. And again, they just need her out the picture. My only concern is that I hope that they don't do something to her while she's going to be serving her jail time, right? But if she's smart, when she's in there, she can help folks with their cases while she's in there. And I guarantee you that 6 months, they'll cut that 6 months down dramatically if she help a couple of people get out. She could it's stuff that she could do while she's in there. You know what I mean? But it's crazy. It's crazy.
If your point was to penalize me, I'm telling you you have. If your point was to destroy me, I'm telling you you can't. Irrespective of whether you jail me for the rest of the term that is left here or not, I can't function this way. So I've done quite a bit of time here, more than I think any other individual ever convicted of a misdemeanor DWI has done. I think that I have lost quite a bit, but I've gained so much in the process. If the point was to teach me or to help me, I don't know that you did, but I can tell you through this process, I've grown so much as an individual. You don't know me, but you literally can see the difference in the person that I've been through this. And to continue to be stuck just because there is literally no benefit to keeping me on probation. In fact, I am the only probationer that my probation officer supervises. You want to talk about a waste of taxpayers' money? I'm his entire caseload. There's no benefit, Judge. You want me to serve the community? I do. I planned on going to a Thanksgiving dinner tonight. If you don't decide to incarcerate me, I'll be there. I'll be serving at Sabrina's this week. I do community service regularly because that's who I am as a person. If you'd like to sentence me to that, I could see a purpose there and I'd do it anyway. I think the appropriate disposition is time served, and People v. Purpura tends to support me. I think that that's a binding decision. I think the court's bound by it. But aside from that, Judge, aside from legalities, and I think that the right thing to do here is to end this. And honestly, candidly, I would like you to do that with a time served disposition. But no matter what you decide to do, I'm thankful that this will be over today. This has stopped my life. Judge, also, there was a motion that was filed. I know that the court ruled on it.
Now they're not gonna do none of that stuff, because you got to remember, you're dealing with demons here, right? And a demon job is to make you suffer, because they thrive off of your pain. Their success comes from your pain. Their success comes from breaking you. That's where their success comes from. Their profits come from siphoning out your energy away from you. Okay? So y'all got to understand that no matter what she does, no matter what she says, like I said, she's approaching this from a corporate standpoint. Hold on. Like how she's honor, brother. Honor. Yeah, I was telling them that earlier. Like, it's about contracting, but she's not fighting it she didn't fight it from that standpoint, you know? So she's going through it, and they're going to put her through the ringer till the very end. My only thing is that when she's doing when she's doing those 6 months that you don't hear on the news, she committed suicide, a drug overdose, a gang beating, you know what I mean? Any of those things that you hear happens that, that supposedly ends up happening to people like her that knows the ins and outs and is getting ready to learn. Because I guarantee she's going to start learning how to properly contract as a former judge. Because she was a young judge. She didn't do that much time, so she wasn't able to go too deep in it. But as a private attorney, right, supposed attorney, she knows some things. She knows the system. She knows certain things of their ins and outs. You know what I mean? That now when she learns how to contract on top of that, she's going to be a powerhouse. Now, the thing is, could they afford for that to happen? You see what I'm saying? So my praise is just with her and her family. Like, seriously. Right? But Oh my goodness.
Specifically, there was an ignition interlock device portion of that motion where I addressed the fact that I've been serving that sentence for in excess of 3 years, which I believe is illegal. Irrespective of the court's decision today, I would ask that you sign the order terminating the ignition interlock today as a part of your sentence. And I would just throw myself on the mercy of the court. Judge, thank you for letting me speak.
I don't feel the need to respond in depth to her feelings. I do believe she misrepresented what I said about the court's options in our pretrial conference.
No, he's telling him the sentence, sir.
That's neither here nor there. I think what matters is that people who are on probation do not get to decide when their terms of probation end. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. So this case started.
Actually, yes, you can. Like, because even like what Brother Owa said, it's all about contracting, revoking your contract. You can revoke your contract at any time you come into the understanding that what has been taking place was pretty much fraud. That's been happening right before your eyes. Once you understand how to operate in the public and the private, you can go back. These are remedies. You can go back and revoke that contract with them. So, hopefully, she learns this. She learns that, or someone runs that information across to her. And when she's inside, she goes to the jail library and make use of it and know what to do and come back and, get her remedy against every single individual, living, breathing persons that has had something to do with her ordeal, her years of torture, because that's what it was, years of torture. So, yeah. Yep, that is. Oh, that is also true, Brother Ward, to copyright your all caps trade name. All right.
Charged of driving while intoxicated and convicted after a trial for driving while intoxicated, which I consider a very serious offense. The facts surrounding your arrest that morning, very troublesome to me. But your actions after your conviction are even more troubling to me.
It's to show you how this judge is, this acting judge is so evil. Mind you, she passed her field sobriety test, right? She passed it. They didn't find that she was drunk. She didn't walk wobbly on the straight line. She didn't turn her head when they say just move your eyes. She didn't do none of that. So when the judges talk about the actions of her arrest, that's crazy to me, right? That is so crazy to me because they're just making stuff up. And you know why? Her bond, her minor account got to have some weight in that. That minor account, man, got to have some. Look, her security bond, that birth certificate, got to be heavy. It has to be worth a hell of a lot of money for them to be put her through this. And this is what they're siphoning out. They're sucking that out. This is what this is, in my opinion.
You received the minimum sentence of a conditional discharge upon your conviction for driving while intoxicated. You had a year period.
They didn't prove that though.
Trouble, pay your fine and surcharge, put a ignition interlock device on your car, and follow the restrictions of the device. And almost a month after your conviction, you already had a violation of the conditional discharge filed. Within 2 months, you had 2 more filed against you. You settled it. You admitted to a violation. The judge extended your conditional discharge provisions to include an additional time period on your ignition interlock device. That was it. 6 months later, you're back on another violation of conditional discharge. The judge places you on probation. Shock portion, yes, you did serve some time. Instead of revoking your probation, he gave you another chance. Placed you on probation. You're back again on a violation of your probation. You've been given several chances before today, before appearing in front of me. What I have found is, and what shocks me, is that you've absolutely never taken any responsibility for your actions
You've never shown any remorse throughout this entire process. Shocking to me. What's also appalling to me is that you unilaterally decided to take yourself off probation without a court order. You just decided you didn't want to go anymore, so you stopped going. I'm not happy about it. I'm not going to tolerate it. Your actions show that you do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. And it stops today, and it stops now. I'm revoking your probation, and I'm resentencing you to 180 days in jail, starting now.
Thank you, Judge.
I will grant your relief with regards to the ignition interlock device. You no longer have to have it installed on your car. I will also sign an order to allow a family member to get it taken off of your car in a timely fashion.
That be today?
Statute, you're going to have some time to think about what your actions were throughout this proceeding. It's quite possible you single-handedly changed the view of our community to the judicial justice system, or judicial system of justice. And it's appalling what you've done, and I hope you've learned your lesson. Case closed. Demetrius Bostis, is he here?
My cousin. Get you on the camera.
All right, so we're gonna play the other interview now with Judge Vonda, right? And listen to what she also has to say to how she conducts her cases, right? So mind you, in the interview, the forced interview that she did, that Sister Leticia did, right? The reporter says that the other judges had the other judge that was presiding. So he had this is where now he had a personal issue with her. So that's a conflict right there of interest. He should have never even been presiding over her case. He admitted that he always had an issue with how she operated on the bench, right? Now listen to when Judge Vonda is giving her her during her interview what she's stating, right? And you want to see? Give me 1 sec here. Let me I hope y'all taking notes to what Brother Owu is putting in the chat, right? I hope you guys are really taking down that information. Okay. Okay. Let's go. Where is it? Okay. So this one we say fair use. This is from WXYZ TV, channel Detroit's channel 7. Back it up. What was it? About to hit the screen share. Give me 1 second, y'all.
Is that when you normally arrive, would you say?
Well, it depends on what day you're in question.
Last week. Any idea what time you typically arrived?
Not really. 9:30, 10. I don't know.
And then you stay usually till when?
Until my docket is completed.
Are there any guidelines that speak to when judges should start their day and how long they should be there?
Well, not necessarily. What is required, and I guess it's like any other job, court hours are from 8:30 to 4 o'clock. There are judges that come in as early as 8:30, and they leave when their docket is done, which is typically 11 or 12. There are judges that may come in late like myself, maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock, stay, get our docket done, and stay for the rest of the day. There is no policy in the Third Circuit Court that allows for you to take a half a day. I've had my judicial assistant to check with the Chief Judge Colombo. He's working with IT to do that right now. There is no mechanism. So therefore, if a person decides after their docket is completed that they're going to leave for whatever the reason, there's no way to say, I want to take a half a day. Either you have to lie and say you're there all day, or say you weren't there any part of the day. So that's what's required. So that's what you have. Not only do you have that in Third Circuit, but you have that everywhere. The number one concern for any judge is docket efficiency, i.e. doing their docket, getting it done, and making sure that when they leave at that time, that day, that docket is properly completed.
So in any given week, how many hours would you say you're spending in court?
Oh my goodness, it depends. Last week I was in a murder trial, and what normally happens is that you can judge a case by the number of transcripts that you do, get the pages that you do. The average case, if you start at 9, you finish about 4, it's about 200 pages. I do between 250 and 275 pages a day. It's something that the prosecutors always say, you know, when you're down in Judge Evans, you're going to run through it and you're going to get it done efficiently and very quickly. I normally do 5 to 6 witnesses a day, which is unheard of. As a matter of fact, I got through Bob Bashir in 3 weeks. That was 79 witnesses. So as far as the efficiency of my docket, William Melendez, same thing, only 56. And I was able to get that done in 2.5 weeks.
Now, if you're not familiar with what's going on with her, they're trying to get her for stealing time. That's what they're trying to get her on, right? But they've ignored all the other acting judges before her, during her, and still now. That's been stealing time for how many years, and that has not been finishing their caseloads. She's been finishing her caseloads. Okay? She's been doing her caseloads. Then they're going to try to hit her with, well, she has cases that's been taking so long, and then she's going to break down to why those cases take long, and then you're going to start understanding to why they're also targeting her, because this system is all about pushing bodies rapidly through the system. And these judges, these acting judges, are not doing that. They're taking their time with some of these cases, especially if they are mentally impaired, right? And do not have the capability of actually speaking or defending themselves, like literally legitimate mentally impaired folks we're talking about. All right. So they give time for them to have the proper counsel to represent them, whatever it takes for them to have a fair, what they consider to be a fair trial, all right, by their standard. But anyway, let's keep going.
So as far as the efficiency of my docket is concerned, I get my docket done. Now, sometimes we'll have a case, I may give what's known as a Cobb's evaluation. And that is somebody may say, well, you know what, Judge, I'm scheduled to go to trial today, but I want to take a plea. On that day, which is a trial day, if they accept that plea at that time, then that means that the 2 days that were set aside for that trial, those days, you can't put anything on them because they're making that decision right then. One of the things that I have a great rapport with defendants as well as attorneys. They trust me. If I give a Cobb's evaluation, which is what I believe that I would do as far as a sentence is concerned, many times those people wait until the last minute to take advantage of it and avail themselves of it. Should I be punished for that? I don't think so, because what I'm able to do is to ferret out justice, to make sure that the prosecution gets what they want, and that is incarceration, and that the defendant gets what they want, is some level of fairness in between. As far as a bench trial is concerned, many people wave in front of me. I go very quickly. I run through my docket, which means I keep going. So because I average so many witnesses a day during a bench trial or whatever, or I may say, you know what, let's just cut through the meat of it. This is the issue. That's how I'm able to execute my docket. I've always been able to do that. I'm very quick. I'm very fair, as evidenced by the cases that I've done. How do you do 79 witnesses and Bob Bashir in 3 weeks? No one does that.
So, in other words, it sounds like you're saying that you don't need to necessarily work a full 8-hour day.
Well, unfortunately, what it is I may have matters. And if they resolve themselves, okay, by means of a plea. So say, for instance, a person, we allocate 2 or 3 hours for a bench trial. On that date, he says, I want to plea, or the witness doesn't come, okay? Then that means that those 2 or 3 hours cannot be utilized any other way. So what happens is many of my matters resolve themselves in that there may be a witness that, maybe a complaining witness that doesn't show. Maybe a person said, you know what, on this day I want to take a plea. Or those are the situations. So if you have a jury trial and a person says, well, I've got 8 witnesses opposed to 4 witnesses, 12 witnesses, you set aside 3 days. That's all done on that day if it's resolved by plea. You can't then just call lawyers on the phone and say, can you fill this day in? So you have gaps, okay, of time. Judges who are more efficient, that the defense attorneys trust, that the defendants trust, and prosecutors will have more bench trials, as well as they'll give and accept Cobb's evaluations. So it just depends on that particular judge. Because I've been doing it for 21 years, have established a rapport with not only the defense, but prosecution, so they trust me. And so therefore, I would say that I'm probably one of the more efficient judges as far as getting my docket is concerned.
So last week, was it a heavy week or a light week for you?
I was in trial every day last week. I was in a jury trial. As a matter of fact, it was a jury trial that ended in a not guilty verdict. On one day, unfortunately, I want to say that it was a Monday, the defense attorney, Gabi Silver, was ill. So we weren't able to go on that particular day due to her illness. Another day, we were scheduled to go to jury trial, and something else came up. But that's typically what happens. We had a jury trial, and then I think I had a waiver trial. I was in trial Friday until 2 o'clock. And then I ended up leaving at 4. Maybe I'm getting the weeks mixed up because I don't have my docket in front of me. But maybe I'm thinking about the week before or last week. But my point being to you is that many of the things that we've set, those matters, resolve themselves. We had set a trial and the witness didn't show. So if the complaining witness doesn't show, then that means you can't go.
But last week there was a trial last week.
I do believe, I can't say I'm not in my docket. If I had privy to my docket, I would be able to say what I was able to do. And that's when I had made sure to say, you know what, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you exactly. Last Tuesday, I didn't come to work at all. Last Wednesday, I did come to work. I left a half a day. I indicated after I completed my docket that I wasn't going to be back for the rest of the day. Thursday, I completed my docket. And as I've indicated, there's no mechanism for taking half a day, because if it were, I would be more than willing to do that.
But isn't there enough work to be done in your courtroom, in this court, to be working full days?
No, absolutely not, because this is the problem.
This is the busiest criminal court in the state.
But here's the problem. After my matters are resolved, I may have 5 matters. If those matters are resolved, I can't call other judges and say, can I do your work? Because those cases belong to them. Just like you're a reporter. You can't do the sports. You're doing investigative stories. So you can't say, well, hey, I'm done my investigative story. Let me go and do the sports. Or let me go do celebrity news.
That's
you
true.
have to do what's given to you. And if you do that and you anticipate that it would be a full day and it doesn't, I can't be held accountable for that.
True.
Because I'm working efficiently. I should be punished. As I've indicated, Third Circuit Court never has, and I could not believe it when I contacted Judge Colombo's assistant, Ms. Karen Skillman, as well as the court administrator. There is no mechanism for half a day. I said, well, if I come and I do my docket, and then I say that I was not there that day, that's lying. And it seems if you say that you are there, it's lying. But there's no way that you can say, I took a half a day. And I said, this is ridiculous. There has to be a mechanism for that. But it isn't. And so that's how this court runs. There are judges that get there at 8:30 in the morning, and by noon they're gone. Because you know what is so ironic, is that I made a decision to seek higher court. And it's so amazing to me. In 21 years, this issue's never come up. You did a story on me maybe a couple weeks ago, and now you're doing a story today. And as a matter of fact, Channel 4 is doing the same story. And all I can think of is the filing for Court of Appeals at the end of the month. And it makes me wonder, why is there such an interest in me? I've never been accused of...
Like I said, this can't be a coincidence, right? So I just glanced over here, and I see another one right here says, Judge blames repeated tardiness on diabetes. Anyway, we'll see what that one's about. But they're going after her, not for being a bad judge of cases or wrongfully prosecuted cases or wrongful convictions or anything like that. They're going after her for time. So for cases that she'll probably finish early on time and has the rest of the day and there's nothing there to really do, right? And for her going home, that's pretty much their main thing on her. This is what they're going after her for. And watch how she's gonna break it down. She's just gonna break them down, like just flawlessly break them down. And again, the thing with her and the previous judge, acting judge, Latasia is they're very well spoken and they get their point across when they're speaking. So the reporter, as much as the reporters try to twist and toss and turn their words afterwards, they make their point exactly clear right back. So it's hard for them to do, hard for them to jam them up. But again, in all of these things is happening because of the approach that they took to fight their cases. You see what I'm saying? But yeah.
Leaving the bench and committing a crime. I've never been accused of leaving the bench and getting drunk. I've never been.
Brother Owo put retired judges spill the beans by Judge Dale. And he's okay. To get this document. All right. So anytime our brother recommends anything, he's pretty much on point and he's pretty much on it. All right. And like I always tell you guys that like this is the person that I learned from and still learning from, and the person that helps guide me in the right direction. All right. So this is really a good brother right here. And I always give thanks and honors to him and damn near every live that I do. And this is one of the reasons why. And if you're just looking for someone genuine to really just have a conversation with, this is the brother also right here as well, and give you great advice, right? And is not afraid to speak his mind. Don't hold his tongue. Don't sugarcoat nothing for you and tell you just exactly like what it is. And like I said, great advice, man. Like that's it. You see what I'm saying? That's our brother right there. All right, that's Brother Awar. So, so yeah.
Accused of doing any of those things other than efficiently getting my docket done. And it just amazes me. What is it about me that's so unique? When, as I shared with you earlier off the record, that there are people, which I have videotape and I'd like to just let you see, that have come at work at 8:30 in the morning, and by 1 o'clock, they were at home. But guess what? Their docket was done. Should they be penalized? Absolutely not. As long as the residents are getting their day in court, being able to be heard, that's what's important. And what's amazing to me is that in 21 years that this issue has not come to fruition, because if it had, I'm quite sure that somebody says she's not effective, she's doing a terrible job, we need her off the bench. As a matter of fact, in 2014, the voters gave me the highest confidence, and I came in number 1 in that race. So that says that somebody has confidence in my ability to ferret out justice.
Now pay attention, right? See, she says she goes back to the voters, just like what Sister Leticia went back to the voters of how to judge the voters, the people, the actual people, not corporate, not politicians, but the actual people of the community. Gave her high regards in voting for her, right? Same thing again with again our other sister that they just gave 6 months to, right? So there's a pattern here. And
to be fair, because I wouldn't have come in number 1.
Do you remember this letter?
Oh, yes, I do.
What do you make of that?
Well, let me just say this to you, which is very interesting. I was in a TJ Maxx, and when I was in the TJ Maxx, I was on the phone, and I was irate. You know why? Because I had a defendant who was mentally ill that was supposed to be referred to the forensic department that was being housed in the Wayne County Jail.
Before I even let it go any further, she's going to drop a bombshell of information that he just blew over and just went back to focusing on whether she was tardy or not by reaching to work on time or she left too early. Like, listen to this bombshell that she's about to drop about Detroit's police department and judicial system. For many folks who are behind bars right now, that's saying that they didn't commit this crime and so on and so, and they're claiming that forensic evidence shows. Listen to what she's about to drop right now.
Which was against the law, and I wanted to.
I'm gonna back it up for y'all first.
Know why?
Let's play it.
That this issue has not come to fruition. Because if it had, I'm quite sure that somebody says she's not effective, she's doing a terrible job, we need her off the bench. As a matter of fact, in 2014, the voters gave me the highest confidence, and I came in number 1 in that race. So that says that somebody has confidence in my ability to ferret out justice and to be fair, because I wouldn't have come in number 1.
Do you remember this letter?
Oh, yes, I do.
What do you make of that?
Well, let me just say this to you, which is very interesting. I was in a TJ Maxx, and when I was in the TJ Maxx, I was on the phone, and I was irate. You know why? Because I had a defendant who was mentally ill that was supposed to be referred to the forensic department that was being housed in the Wayne County Jail, which was against the law, and I wanted to know why. And I was outraged.
And no one's saying you shouldn't have.
May I finish?
You may.
May
you
I?
only have.
May I?
Okay.
No, may I finish?
You
Ask
may
a
go
question.
longer.
See, he said he's trying to cut her off.
Question I'm going to answer.
So he's trying to cut her
I
off.
was concerned about the fact that there could have been a this man's liberty. This man was not getting treatment. And when I received a call at TJ Maxx, which I want to say was probably about 4:15 that particular day, I was very upset. And someone complained to my chief judge, oh, may I say, she was very loud. I was very frightened. I even thank goodness for those black robes. She had a very tight blue dress revealing she was wearing. So amazing to me that whomever was the writer of this letter was more concerned about my attire than anything else. But what's also interesting, sorry I didn't want her calling me. She doesn't even put her address down here. As a matter of fact, this particular street, when you look it up, is not in this particular zip code. Are there people that don't like me? Absolutely.
So they're following her.
They
They're
don't
following
like
her like
me.
they did.
And guess what? What does prevent them from writing lies? Absolutely nothing.
Here, I let you answer. Here's my question, though. You said you've never had attendance issues brought up before. It was brought up here because the question was raised, why were you at a TJ Maxx in Allen Park?
At 4:15.
during the workday.
At 4:15.
Court's open till 4:30.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I was gone. Yes, you're right. This was at 4:15.
Okay.
Okay, so very good. Okay.
You remember that?
She's about to drop some shit about Detroit. I'm telling y'all.
November 18th. No, I don't.
Okay. So you didn't work this past Tuesday?
I did not. And I took that day off.
I'm gonna tell y'all what this is also. Not only is it a witch hunt, remember back in the day they used to try to paint us in the mainstream media light as lazy, people that don't like to work, all these things, all the typical stereotype, what they used to do back in the day, right? Give me a sec here. Let me check something real quick. If you guys can still see the screen share, press 1. And if you guys can still hear me, press 1. Because I'm not seeing anything on my end. Right? On my everything just went blank on my phone. Okay, all right. So yes. So back in the day, they used to paint us as lazy, good for nothing folks that don't like to work on the mainstream spotlight, on the mainstream stage. This sort of reminds me of that when they used to do that back in the early 90s, especially in the early 90s. That's what they used to milk all the time and then push the whole drug dealer, gangbanger image more than anything else on our people, right? So this now is like, you're a lazy judge. You don't really be doing none of this stuff. And she's counteracting all their fictitious information with facts, and he can't debate what she's saying. He can't debunk what she's saying. He can't debate it. It's just like with Leticia. They couldn't debate none of the things that she was saying because it was actual facts and not made up fictitious information that they're passing off. Right? So let's keep going.
Okay. What about a week ago, Thursday, the 29th? Remember that day?
I certainly don't. Do you remember that day?
I do.
And what happened on the 29th?
Well, you didn't show up to work.
The whole day?
Yeah.
That's not true. That is absolutely March 29th? What day of the week was that?
Thursday.
Absolutely. I dispute that.
When did you arrive?
She was good for mature woman.
I can't recall. Do you know what you were wearing that day?
No, but I know I was at work.
Well, why? But you don't know what you were wearing. You knew you were clothed.
Your Honor.
That wasn't important. You knew you had clothes on. I can't remember every single day, nor am I going to challenge you.
Remember if you came to work on the 29th, right?
I can't say that I did or I don't because I don't have my docket. But let me ask you this question. When you talk about me doing my docket, why? Since you said Judge Evans, you indicated that there are other people, other colleagues that come to work and leave abruptly.
Go ahead and show me those.
Okay, let me take a look so we can all take a look together. Can the cameraman see that? Well, after I found out, that my attendance was such an issue. Can you see that, Mr. Cameraman? Okay, let's take a look at this because I think that this is important to share. This was, and you said, the court is open from what time? 8:30 to noon. To 4:30, right? Okay, this is 227 Friday. Let's see how many cars are not there in that parking lot. These are other judges.
And as you're shooting that,
excuse me.
No, I have a question.
No. I want the viewers to see.
The viewers are saying he's shooting it, Your Honor.
May, look at that. Wait a minute.
It's an empty parking lot.
Until 6:30.
Wait,
so
no, you got longer. Let's look at all the cars that are not there.
We're shooting it, Your Honor. I would like a
No,
copy of that myself.
Okay, very good. No, I know. I'm not. I want the viewers to see.
He ain't trying to let her talk no more.
Now look at this. Let's stop that now because that is too long. And let's take a look at what it is at 4:28. Let's look. We're supposed to be there to 4:30, right? Let's see how many judges are not there. You only see 3 or 4 cars.
Let me know when it's
one of them.
my turn to talk.
Okay, very good. So I want everybody to see that. Do you see that? You see all of those empty stalls?
Here's my
those
question.
Empty stalls. wait a minute. You said wait till you finish, and I'm going to do that. Those empty stalls represent.
It usually be like
of judges
15 to like 20 judges in a
Okay.
courthouse,
Now I don't want to be
right? In a court building.
too much, but let's take a look. This was today at 12:06. Okay, let's see how many cars are missing. Now what you'll see, 9 and 10, those stalls are empty. It's noon. Where are those vehicles? Wait a minute, I'm not done. Here we go. 9 and 10 are empty. Please. Now I'm there. I'm going to tell you where those cars are. I went to their locations and they were at home. Let's take a look where those vehicles were.
She's not playing.
Respectfully, Your Honor, I'm confused.
Excuse me.
Because I don't know what.
Excuse
is your
me.
point-
Excuse me. My point being to you is this. You are making a big deal out of me maybe coming a little late to TJ Maxx incident. What about the people that indicated they were there at 9, left at noon, and were home? Why don't
And
you
they're all
want to do a story
Caucasian.
about them?
Your Honor, I'm
You know
happy.
why?
Can I
You know
please-
why?
Can I
You know
speak,
why?
sir?
Because for some reason, what I'm doing is more important. Because you're at TJ Maxx at 4:15. What about these people that were at home and they came at 9? They were at home at noon and they stayed until 4 o'clock and they were supposed to be there the whole day. What about that, Ross?
Your Honor, you're one of those people.
No, I wasn't because my car was there.
Your Honor,
How can I have taken the video?
Your Honor, we have been watching.
Okay,
We
very
watched
good.
you for 5 days.
Okay, wonderful.
You never
They
even
stalked
came close
us.
to showing up on time.
Okay,
Some days you didn't show up at all.
okay, that's not true.
Apparently on-
That is not true. And if I didn't, I took that day off.
So you showed up on the 29th, Thursday.
I can't say whether or not I did or not.
You just said I wasn't right. So you must know if you showed up
Listen,
on the 29th.
when I get to work Thursday, I'm going to let you know and pull my docket up. And I'll tell you exactly.
When you
I
get to
will
work
tell
on
you.
Thursday?
Or when I got to work I'll tell you exactly.
This was the night of your campaign fundraiser. You remember that?
Last Thursday?
No, the 29th.
You know what kills me?
No. Oh, that was a day that I believe that we wanted to take a half a day. I came to work that day.
You sure?
I'm absolutely positive.
What time did you arrive?
I don't know. I'm not at home. I'm at another location. I don't have my docket.
Okay, because we didn't see your car there.
That's fine because I don't even think that I had my car that day. I'm not sure, but I'm going to double check. I know I was there the 29th.
Okay.
And if I didn't, I took that day off. But I'm going to double check.
Okay. There was no time showing you took the day off.
Okay, very good. But we don't have to immediately do it. If I know I was there, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, they were watching her. Remember, in Judge Leticia case, it was the media that was sending back information to the judges. The media was following her and sending back information to the judges, editing it to how they wanted it to be, and the judges took it and ran from there. And then when they investigated, they came to find out that it wasn't even true, but they still prosecuted her on lies. So they were following her too. But all those other Caucasian judges that either didn't show up to work or took half a day and was at home chilling, they don't want to hear none of that. He's cutting her off or trying to cut her off when she's bringing up those topics. But this isn't it. Listen to what she's going to say about the forensic department of Detroit. Listen, it's coming up.
I was there the 29th, but I just can't recall. When else?
Okay. Okay, there was that day. There was this Monday, for example. You arrived at 10:30. Does that sound about typical?
This Monday? Yesterday?
Last Monday, excuse me.
I can't say for sure.
Okay. How about that Thursday you showed up at 10, you left at 11:30?
Okay, got my docket done. Docket was done. But what about the judge that came in at 9 and left at 12,
Okay.
not only on Friday, but Monday?
I'd be happy to talk to that judge later, but I'm sitting across from
Well,
you right
what
now.
about that? If we want fairness for one, we should have fairness for all. If you're going to target one, you need to target all because
Nobody's targeting you, Your Honor. I'm asking you questions about how much time you spend.
No, but the issue is, are judges meriting out justice? Are they coming on time?
I'm glad you
Are
brought
they
that
leaving
up.
on time?
I'm glad you brought that up.
What are we doing?
And you pointed out how you were the #1 judge when it came to votes.
Yes.
You are second to the bottom when
Okay.
it comes to how long it takes your cases to resolve themselves.
Okay, and let me talk about that because I love to. A third of my docket is mentally ill. There was a man that said some very disparaging words, F me in my courtroom. It took 13 months for his case just to get to trial because he had to be referred for competency. When there's an issue for competency, I don't have the right to go forward. If there's a change in attorney, I can't do that. The average referral for competency in a forensic is 90 days. Many of those cases we're waiting for DNA to come back from the lab for
Here we go.
Michigan State Police, which my prosecutors will say, Judge, they're backlogged. Why? Because Detroit does not have a DNA lab. We don't have a fingerprint lab. And let me say this to you, Ross.
You heard that? She said Detroit does not have a DNA lab nor a fingerprinting lab. So for those of you who pay taxes and are being told, yo, your tax money goes towards so and so and so, why don't you have that? Where's your tax money going to? And another reason why they drag out her stuff when it comes to the mentally impaired is because they get paid more money the longer it takes. That's why those, when she passes it on to whoever that's supposed to take care of their evaluation, it's out of her hands. She has to wait till everything is finished. So they drag it out. So when they drag it out, it's to suck more money out of that account. That's what they're doing. So it's out of her hands. So what he's bringing up is just straight foolishness. They're reaching to demonize her, and they can't. And only thing they're getting now is their dirty laundry aired out there that those reporters don't even report on. So why don't you go out and report the fact that Detroit don't have a fingerprint or no form of a DNA lab? The police department don't have that. So how are you prosecuting a lot of these supposed criminals for crimes that you can't prove because you don't have their fingerprints or DNA on the scene of these supposed crimes? Now, if you tie that in with police officers sitting down with minors, convincing them to plead guilty to shit that they never even did, right? And well, there's no DNA evidence to prove that he's innocent or guilty. It's a lot. A lot of these, everything that they tried with these two females backfired on them, and so much got exposed. But a lot of people overlooked these key points because the mainstream media only focused on one issue. But they weren't listening to what these females was actually saying, the information that they were actually dropping to the people. Like, I would be more concerned that the policy department don't have a forensic lab. Like, what?
Before I rush to judgment and make someone force themselves to go to trial, I don't care if I am late. Because you know what? There was a man that spent 45 years in prison. You know why? Because some judge wanted to push it through. I'm not one of those judges. So if it takes me and I'm last and I make sure that an innocent man doesn't go to prison, then guess what? I'm willing to accept that. But I'm not going to require the prosecution or the defense to go to trial if their client is not competent and or if they don't have the necessary fingerprints or blood work necessary in order to effectively do their case. Because as I tell my jurors, my job is to make sure that justice is served. It's not supposed to be served in 24 hours, in 90 days. Many times these cases don't do that because they need special attention.
Exactly.
And what do? I say I'm going to be cost efficient opposed to violating their rights. I'm not going to do that.
No one's asking you to violate their rights.
But I'm telling you, you want to know why? I'm just telling you. Many times it's because DNA backup, because of competency issues, because of maybe lawyers want to get off. Maybe that's the reason. So you can't just say to me, well, because you're last here, doesn't mean that the people in front of you are not getting.
So you know what she's also saying, because of maybe lawyers want to get off. So if a lawyer want to get off of a case, they want to rush through the case so that they don't have to be bothered with it. That's crazy. So now you have to question how many cases that has gone through this system was even decently dealt with in a decent way. You know what I mean? How many of these cases was decently tried? How many? Or how many of these cases they just threw through the system, just rushed through because I don't want to be bothered with it? Like, this is crazy. And she's just letting it out.
Injustice. That's crazy. We're on a night. May I?
She didn't say that.
Excuse me. We're on a 90-day track. No federal court doesn't have that, so they're inefficient. The average case that goes through federal court takes about 18 months to do. Does that mean they're not doing their job? Absolutely not. This is something that the court administrators arbitrarily said that from the time a person is charged until trial, it should be 90 days. It doesn't work like that. In an ideal world, it does. Maybe for those other judges, it does. I don't know.
So
I
guess
know
I'm
that
just trying
what
to figure.
I'm faced with are defendants that are not competent, defendants that may request other attorneys, prosecutors that don't have DNA, prosecutors that don't have fingerprints. I'm not going to push it through, but go ahead. Your question is what?
So you're saying these other 16 judges who have somehow done it faster than you are not as good as you?
Listen, because you do a report different from Channel 2 doesn't mean that they're better or you're better. You can't speak to someone's ability. All you can do is speak to your own. So I don't know what they're doing in their courtroom.
But when somebody sees that Vonda Evans on any given week shows up late, leaves early, or doesn't show up at all, and then she's got 37 cases above the guidelines, is it really that unreasonable to say, boy, if she was working, I don't know, a full day like the rest of us, maybe she wouldn't have so many cases going on past the guidelines?
But let's take a look. And two of those judges, the number one judge down here, let's take a look at that. You see the number one judge down here, Miss Dana Hathaway? That's one of the judges that comes in at 9 and leaves at 12. A violation is a violation. Excuse me, may I finish? Another person, let's look at it. Judge Shalini, which
She's not playing.
3, does the same thing. But the fact of the matter is, they're getting their jobs.
You know what's crazy? She's using his paperwork that he brought to show that what he's doing is a witch hunt. His documentations that he brought is what she's going back through and pointing out, like, but look what you have here, and you're just focused on me. I'm the only judge you're focused on. You're not saying if this was supposed to be a fair report as media, then you would include all these acting judges, all of them, instead of just singling out one. But you're not including all of them. You're only going to one. And she's just blowing it up. She's just dropping dime on every single one of them now. Boom. Now let's see what they're going to do. Let's see if they're going to go after all those others. I guarantee they're not. And they probably backed up off of her, or probably going to back up off of her. Watch. You know, difference between she and Leticia is, you see, Leticia wasn't wearing no pearls. You know what I mean? So, you know, again, that's why I said when you're part of these societies, man, sometimes they turn on you when you're not playing the game that they want you to play, right? And Leticia is not a part of the club, but you know, they trying to get at this Sister Vonda here also as well. That's a part of the club. Well, probably not anymore now.
It's done. So do you say we're going to give you a pass because you come in and
Actually,
you're number one?
they have no cases over the guidelines.
Okay,
you're
and guess
looking
what?
at the wrong list.
But guess what? Here's the thing. They're leaving at noon. Does that make it right? Does it make
Here's
it right
the thing.
if we're
You're arguing against yourself and for yourself.
No,
you're saying I don't need to work the whole day. Then you're saying, look at these guys, they leave
But
early.
my question is, why aren't you following them? Why aren't you jumping out of the bushes on them? Does it have anything to do with the fact that I'm running for Court of Appeals and I'm standing up for myself? Why is it becoming an issue? It wasn't an issue when
she's
you
running for a higher court
and asked me different questions. You wasn't an issue when you needed to know information. You called me on my cellular communication.
That's a very good question.
That wasn't an issue then. But all of a sudden, 3 weeks before I'm to file for Court of Appeals, it becomes an issue. But when there are other people who are flagrantly violating the law, why are you going after them, Ross? Because surely I don't want to think that you're doing this because it could be racist, because I know you better than that. I know you're not like that. But what I am concerned about,
Your
Why
Honor.
is it that you, Channel 7 and Channel 4, have decided to do a story on me about my ability when in 3 weeks I'm going to file my petitions for a higher court? Is that just a coincidence, Ross?
No. Yep, they're targeting her. Like I said earlier, we can stop it there. We don't got to play no more. Like I said earlier, power. It's about power. It's about power that they don't want members of this community to have. That's just it, plain and simple. Especially members that have shown themselves to not want to play the game. They don't want to play ball, right? Those who don't want to play ball, who's not playing the good old boys club ball game of being corrupt 24/7 a day, 7 days a week. Okay? It's about power. It's about judges that are actually having some kind of consciousness about the people's lives that they're affecting. Okay? And they don't want people like this on none of these benches. And she's going for a higher court. Oh, they don't want her to get that seat. Because if she's in the Court of Appeals, do you know what that means? A lot of people that was wrongfully convicted, especially for non-criminal offenses, someone like this on a Court of Appeals, they could win their appeals for their cases. And they don't want that. It's millions of young original Americans locked up in these privatized prisons for non-criminal offenses that is not supposed to be behind those bars. And they don't want one of you who understands the ins and outs of this system on there granting these appeals. They're going to lose money and slaves out of those slave systems of the prison system. They don't want that. It's about power, control. And this is why it's important to understand how to operate in the public and the private to know this information. This is what it's about. Okay? Because as soon as she said Court of Appeals, I'm like, oh, so okay, now it makes sense she was going for a higher court. She was going for a higher court, more power. The other sister Leticia, was very active still in the community. She still participated in community programs. She still gave back to the community. She still volunteered at the shelters. She still did the outreach programs. She still did all of these things, active in the community. So it was like we definitely got to get rid of her because she's being too much of a positive light to the community. She's from the community. She grew up in the community. She had her children in the community. She still live in the same house in the hood, in the community. This is a judge that still stayed in her hood because she's doing active community work still in the community. So she has the understanding of the ins and outs of the corruption of what's going on the streets, of what's happening out there. They don't want people like this in these positions that could sympathize or have any form of empathy for you that's going to step foot in their courthouse on a wrongful charge. They don't want that. Okay? So, understand what's happening here. And this is why I say, man, look, you have to start educating your children from young about this system, the correct way, about how to operate in the public and the private. Got to start pumping this information to the young ones. From they turn 2 years old, I say from they turn 2, start saying certain things around them so that they can mimic you, right? And then just take it from there. Take it from there. When they get older, start teaching them more and more and more. So that when they get out, I seen a video of a 15-year-old original American shut down an officer, a policy officer, harassing him, shut him down. I seen videos of a Caucasian, a foreigner on our soil, on original American soil, shut down an officer from the information. Shut it down. So I seen these things, and we have to start teaching our young ones to stay calm because the psychological game that they play. Like he tried it with her. He was trying with her. She stayed calm for the most part. They tried it with Sister Leticia. She stayed calm because in the first when they first started getting at her, she was upset in the very first early parts of her cases, the very first beginning. But then she realized, okay, this is making me look bad. So she learned how to calm herself. She stayed calm. Now it got more and more difficult on them to put them in a bad light now. So these are the things. No matter if they come in your face, no matter how they try to talk, they try to grab your arm, stay calm and stick to the point. Don't stray from the point. Don't go into no long ass conversation with them. You stick to the facts. You stick to the law, exactly what the natural law is, the common law. You stick to the law of the land on them. Don't stray from that. Don't have no side conversations with them. Don't tell them about your job. Don't tell them about nothing. You stick to the laws that they are violating. You stick to their oath, and you tell them, you tell them anything that they're doing. They accuse you of something. Do you swear on your oath of affirmation? Do you swear on your oath that that is accurate and true? They won't do it. They won't do it. When they approach you, make sure that their body cam is on and make sure that the volume is turned up on their body cam, because they approach you now with the body camera on, but the volume is turned down. Or they approach you with the body cameras off because you're too worried about that stranger with the gun in front of you to look at their body cam to see if that green light is flashing or that steady green light is there showing that it's on. Okay? And you make sure that the volume is up. You have to learn to protect yourselves. You gotta learn this stuff. It's not a game out there. I'm telling y'all, it's not a game out there. It's not. It's not a game out there. This is very serious. And they're trying to use these two sisters as examples to break them, and they're not breaking. You see, back in the day, they used to get at our peoples, and our peoples will buckle on the mainstream stage in front of the media. And they'll break. They coon out. They'll cop out. These two sisters ain't doing that. They're not doing that. You see that they gave Sister 6 months? She didn't even buckle. She didn't even. And then there's another judge. There's another sister judge that they told her, oh, we had to drag her out of court. And truthfully, they didn't. They grabbed her and pulled her to make it look like they were dragging her out of court. There's another sister judge that they did the same thing to. Another one that they sentenced to jail time. I think it's over in Arizona, I think. So this is not nothing new. They're trying to get rid of our people off these seats, especially the females. Okay? Especially the females, because you also have to understand the occult, spiritual, scientific parts of sitting on that supposed magistrate seat. Why they wear the black robe. It's 3 hats. You have the magistrate hat, you have the judge hat, and you have the bishop hat. All right? Which in the female judges can be considered the priestess. Okay? So if you're not for the corruption that they're pushing, they don't want you in those positions. They want to get rid of you. And they're going to find every loophole, every little leeway, no matter how tiny it is, and blow it up like it's something big. But like in these 2 cases, you see that it's the media that stalked these females and built a case against them in a court of public opinion because of how they twisted the story and put it out in the public. So if the public don't go and do their own research to understand what exactly is really going on and actually listen to both sides to what's going on. Because a lot of folks did not know that Detroit don't have a forensic department. How are you supposedly having all these murders and all these crimes happening and you don't have a forensic department? So how have you been prosecuting all these cases for all these years? How have you managed to put so many people behind bars without the evidence? How? Major. This was so major in her interview, and he totally ignored that. And I love how she low key called him racist and was like, but I'm not saying, yeah, because he is. And it just came out because something like this about a judge leaving early or not coming to work on time should have been investigated to where all the judges that's been doing this, because if they have access to her data sheet, they have access to all the other judges' data sheet, but they focused on her because she's going for a higher court, and they ignored all the other judges. That's exactly what they did. So it is also racial right here. It's also racial. It's political and it's racial. It's both. And she called them out on it. Because also as a reporter, you have the right to tell your superior whether you feel if a news story is worthy of reporting on an everyday level or not. All right, once or twice you broke it down, leave it alone, keep it moving. There's more major things happening, like no forensic department on a police in a state that prosecutes hundreds of people every day because they fake that the crime rate is this high. But you have no forensic department. So how are you prosecuting these folks going in and out of this prison system? How? With no evidence. How? That's a big story right there. But again, hey, who am I? Who am I to have heard that part and just pay attention to that part right there? And the fact that she's going for the Court of Appeals. Who am I? But hey, this is what it is, man. Like I say to you guys, just when y'all hear these people talk, don't listen to the mainstream narrative. Pay attention with a keen ear and a sharp ear and really listen and pay attention to what's really going on and pick apart what it is that they're saying. Sometimes watch the videos over and over. Right, because there's something else that I missed in here that I caught when I rewatched the length of this interview just now with you guys. Like, she dropped some stuff in here, just like the last sister dropped some stuff in her stuff, right? So we have to really listen keenly to what's really going on, and you're going to realize, man, look, this is all about the enslavement of your spiritual. Your physical, okay? The capturing of your estates, your assets that has been passed down to you from the creator to your ancestors, from your ancestors down to you. Okay? This is what this is about. Nationality is key. All right? But again, it is what it is. Like I said, I'm going to do part 2 of the breakdown of the Watchmen, and that part 2 is going to entail of the wars. It's going to go into not only the Vietnam War, but going back to the Windrush. It's going to go back to the Windrush era, the Spanish-American Wars also as well. If you don't understand the Dr. Manhattan and the Watchmen, like in part 1 of my breakdown, I showed you that that the Seminoles and the Maroons are one and the same people, right? The Seminoles and the Maroons are one and the same people. Okay, where I showed you guys that also in part 1 of the breakdown when we were referring to the chestnut tree, and what they really called Maroons, not only as mountain people, but also they refer to them as sweet chestnut from the chestnut tree, which the chestnut tree originated in the Americas. And you know what the colonizers do? When they get your stuff, they take it back to their homeland. Or when our people was traveling to the other side of the world, we'll take our foods, we'll take our products with us that we are familiar with and bring it to these lands. So you'll see like the hickory trees, you'll see hickory trees, and it's always the same places. Pay attention. Like with the chestnut tree, it goes from the American soil to Europe and China, right? Europe and China, and I think, yeah, those, so boom. Out these three places: America, Europe, China. Same thing goes with the hickory tree: America, Europe, China. But when you dig real deep down into the history, you see that these trees always been here first, and then they ended up over there on the other side of the world. And you'll see what's going on, like with China right now. China is everywhere. Chinese are everywhere, but they take back our natural resources back to China, and they grow them over there. You understand? Because they're cultivating and building up their land now. So you got to understand that when you look at the definitions of certain words and it's referring to Maroons or original Americans as relating to these natural resources as the trees and animals that they're talking about you, these are codes for speaking of you. Got to understand the history of also the animals. When they're referring to like the wolves originally come from the Americas, and they exported some of these wolves to other parts of the world, like mostly all in Russia. The Russian wolf comes from the Americas, right? It is the actual American wolf. Okay, so these are the things that you must understand. These are codes, the emblems, the coat of arms that you see with the wolves, the bear, the grizzly bears, the polar bears. These are American bears. When they're referring to certain things, when they're using words like brawn or brawny, that means brown people. That's what it means. It means brown people. It means brown skin, brown hair, brown complexion. That's what it means. But in some dictionaries, they rewrote it to say blonde skin with brown hair. That's bullshit. Bleach pale skin with brown hair. That's bullshit. Brawn means brown. That's it. Okay? So these are the things that we got to start understanding these things, all right? Got to start understanding these things. These is so many different stuff. Like I said, though, we're going to get into it. Part 2 of the breakdown of the Watchmen. We also have some documents from the 1600s that we also got to go over, and some papal bulls that we're going to also start going over as well. These are some things that I was looking into. I was studying in. Brother Owa passed down information to me, and yeah, so these things are coming up also. But these with these documents is going to be on the D Live. It's not going to be on the YouTube. All right, so I'll keep you guys posted with that as well. You can check all the links for the D Live, the YouTube, for the D Live and the Discord, are in the description box, and I already pinned it in the top of the comment section down below. So you can go down below and see all the links. Links to the D Live, the Discord, links to the Teespring store. Everything is there as well. And this weekend, yes, this weekend we will be going live Saturday and Sunday. Probably also Friday. Sunday will be the D Live with the documents. Saturday will be the breakdown of part 2 of the Watchmen. And Friday, I don't know what yet. There's something that I want to touch on, but I'm not sure yet for Friday. And we'll see where it goes. Oh, yes, the CPS. We're going to touch on CPS, on Child Protective Services on Friday, and show y'all the tricks that they do with the documentations, tricks with the signatures, the tricks with the seal, to let you know how if the document was really passed down from a magistrate, or what do you call a judge, if it's authentic or not, because a lot of children was taking out their homes off of fraudulent and fictitious documents. So if you are people who were victim of CPS, pay attention to this live coming up on Friday. You will see folks who have been going at CPS for years point out their tricks, the tricks that they use to take your children out the home. Also, you're going to see policy officers literally just go and steal children out of these homes when their job is not to interfere. Their job is to operate as a peace officer role, meaning that they're not supposed to ask you any questions. They're not supposed to be doing any form of investigation. They're not supposed to be searching your home. They're not supposed to be touching your children. Their job is just to make sure you and the CPS worker don't get into a fight. That is it. And you're going to see cases where, to show you how that it's all about human trafficking and corrupt, Oh, brother, I made a T-shirt with that too. I come with clean. I come with clean hands. But so yeah, I did that. I did that. When I'm able to get a proper working where I can talk to you, because I got some stuff that I got a lot of stuff that I want to talk to you about. But I'm working on that. I'm working on that. But yeah. But with that being said, yeah. So we're about to get up out of here. I wish everyone safe travels. If you are on the highways and byways, safe travel to you. If you are just at work, just keep a positive vibe, positive energy. Best wishes to you, your loved ones. Hope all is well with you all. Hope your loved ones are safe and well also as well. And like I said, man, next spring is the beginning of the new year. So don't forget, don't fall for the 2020 end of December calendar thing with the Greco-Roman stuff. That's not the new year. All right. That's still a part of the winter solstice. You're celebrating death instead of new life. Okay. Spring is the beginning of the new year. Spring is new life. Okay. That's when the new year kicks in. So when next spring comes, I just wish everyone just a positive and rejuvenated new year when that also comes and that happens. All right. And just much love to you all and much respect to you all. And again, I have to just say much love and much respect to Brother Awua. Like, I in my life haven't had much male figures that I could say were a positive cornerstone to me in my life, right? Like I have my father, that's just straight a given, you know what I mean? And I can't go past my five fingers, and Brother Awua is on that is one out of the five fingers that of male examples, positive male examples that I've had and that I really honor and respect his opinion and what he has to say. So I just give much respect to our brother and longevity to him, to his family, to his loved ones, and much respect to everything that he's also doing as well, because he is doing it. Okay, so yeah. But with that being said, I say peace, love, light to you all, and enjoy the rest of y'all day, night, afternoon, evening, depending on the time zone that you are in. And again, don't forget to check out the links. The links are within the top of the comment section. I pinned it there, so it should be there. And it's also within the description box where if you go below the video, it should say show more, show me more. If you go towards where it says comments, it should have two arrows going up and down. Click on that. You'll see all the links. All right. So peace to you all.